The air at 6,000 feet does not just chill the skin. It hums with a stillness so profound it feels as though the world has stopped breathing. Go out here, in the high emerald folds of the Darjeeling Mountains in the year 1870, the chaotic noise of the burgeoning British Empire, the clatter of carriages, the steam of locomotives, the frantic pace of trade, is utterly non-existent. We have ascended beyond the clouds to a place where time is measured not by the ticking of brass pocket watches, but by the slow, graceful evaporation of moisture from a single verdant leaf. You are standing in the doorway of a wooden drying shed, the structure anchored to the mountainside by heavy hand-hewn cedar shingles that glisten with the morning's persistent mountain mist. The moment you step across the threshold, you are enveloped by an atmosphere that feels sacred. The scent hits you first, a clean, sharp, herbaceous perfume that defines the very soul of this estate. It is the smell of crushed clover, wet stone, and the delicate, grassy sweetness of tea that is only hours removed from the bush. Before you stretches a labyrinth of woven bamboo trays, rising in tiers like the terrace fields that hug the slopes outside. The light is peculiar here, filtered through the gaps in the bamboo screens. It does not hit the room with the harshness of direct sunlight. Instead, it enters in soft, diffused golden ribbons, illuminating the dancing dust motes that drift in the cool, still air. Everything in this room is designed for a singular, quiet purpose: the transmutation of the raw leaf into the golden nectar that will soon travel across the seas. In the center of this golden haze stands a man. He moves with the fluidity of a shadow, his presence so unobtrusive that he seems almost part of the architecture itself, his hands, stained deep green by the oils of 1,000 harvests, move with a deliberate, hypnotic rhythm. He is not rushing. He cannot rush. To rush the drying process is to bruise the delicate structure of the leaf, to ruin the potential for the complex flavor profile that these mountain-grown plants are famous for. He reaches out, his fingers fanning over a tray of leaves, and turns them. The sound is exquisite, a soft, dry, crisp rustle reminiscent of the first fallen leaves of autumn skittering across a forest path. It is the sound of silence being punctuated by the softest of textures. There is no clock in this room, and there is no need for one. The temperature here is dictated by the mountain breeze, and the humidity is managed by the precise opening and closing of the bamboo screens. When the mist rolls in, thick and suffocating, the screens are drawn tight to protect the drying leaves from the damp. When the sun breaks through, the shed warms, and the leaves surrender their water to the air. It is a dialogue between the mountain and the tea, a conversation that has played out in this exact manner for generations. As you stand here watching this ancient ritual, feel the tension in your own shoulders begin to dissolve. The demands of the modern world are thousands of miles and over a century away. You are caught in the quiet, golden, and timeless fold of 1870. The repetitive, hypnotic motion of the worker's hands acts as a metronome for your own heartbeat. Left turn, right turn, shift the tray, smell the mountain air. In this shed, the outside world is a ghost, and the only reality is the slow, steady progress of the harvest. You are safe, you are grounded, and you are entirely at peace. Let the silence of the mountains fill the room, and let the rhythmic rustle of the leaves pull you deeper into a state of profound restorative rest. This is not just a place of labor, it is a sanctuary, a secure and isolated haven where time slows to a crawl. And the only thing that matters is the perfect preservation of the mountain's bounty. Listen to the sound of the leaves. Breathe in the cool, crisp air of the high altitude. You are exactly where you need to be. The man, Anshu, continues his work with the focus of a monk in prayer. He does not look up as the light shifts, for he knows the rhythm of the shed by heart. His hands glide across the bamboo, feeling for the exact moment when the leaf loses its initial, succulent rigidity and begins to soften. This state of withering is the most critical juncture in the transformation of tea. If the leaf dries too quickly, it locks in the raw bitter sap. If it dries too slowly, it begins to spoil, losing its bright ethereal top notes. He understands this chemical balance not through scientific theory, but through the calluses on his fingertips and the way the leaves yield to his touch. Each bamboo tray is hand-woven, the stalks smoothed by years of use until they have taken on the deep polished sheen of aged wood. They are sturdy yet light enough to be lifted and shifted by a single worker. In this mountain estate, every tool is an extension of the craft, refined over time to minimize friction and maximize the delicate handling of the harvest. Anshu reaches for a tray on the third tier. He lifts it gently, tilting it slightly to catch the dapple light. He inspects the color of the leaves, a vibrant, pulsating green that looks almost incandescent against the backdrop of the darkened cedar walled room. They are perfect. The air in the shed is alive. It carries the weight of the morning's mist and the clarity of the midday sun, because the estate sits on a ridge that catches the prevailing winds. There is a constant gentle circulation of air that helps pull the moisture from the leaves. This is the breath of the mountain. It enters through the gaps in the wall, travels across the surface of the thousands of drying leaves, and exits through the high vented roof. It is a slow, invisible exchange that takes hours. Anshu walks to the southern wall and adjusts one of the bamboo screens. He does this with a deliberate, singular motion, sliding the panel just a few inches to the left. The change is imperceptible to anyone else, but he hears the subtle shift in the draft immediately. The airflow has improved. The leaves will now dry more uniformly. He returns to his position by the central rack. He picks up a small handful of leaves from the corner of a tray, letting them fall through his fingers in a controlled, fluttering motion. The sound is dry and crisp, a sound that promises quality and care. He thinks of the pickers, those women and men who climb the steep, winding paths of the estate at dawn, their baskets strapped to their backs, moving through the dew-laden bushes with the grace of mountain goats. They brought the leaves here, the first generation of a harvest that will soon be prized in the drawing rooms of London. He feels a quiet sense of pride in his role as the guardian of their labor. If he fails here, their hard work in the rain and cold becomes nothing. But if he succeeds, if he manages the drying to perfection, he preserves the very essence of the mountain for the final stages of rolling and firing. The shed is an island of stability in a vertical world. Outside, the slopes are treacherous, dropping away into deep shadowed valleys where the rivers roar like caged lions. The weather can change in an instant. A thick white wall of clouds can swallow the estate whole in a matter of minutes, turning the world into a gray, featureless void, but inside the shed the boundaries are clear. The walls hold a space against the encroaching elements, creating a climate of consistency. The only variation is the slow, deliberate transition of the day. You watch as the afternoon shadows begin to lengthen, stretching like long, slender fingers across the bamboo floors. The golden light intensifies, turning the interior into a sanctuary of warmth. It is a peaceful, hypnotic sight. The repetition of the work, the reaching, the turning, the feeling, the adjusting, creates a tapestry of movement that is inherently soothing. There is no urgency here, only the steady, patient accumulation of effort. The leaves themselves seem to be settling into their new form, their edges curling slightly, their texture becoming more pliable and resilient. Notice how the scent evolves as the hours pass. It loses the raw, watery brightness of the morning, taking on a deeper, more complex aroma. It is now a mix of fresh hay, dried wildflowers, and the faint, earthy mineral tang of the mountain soil. It is a grounding scent, one that anchors you to the present moment and pulls you away from the mental chatter of your daily life. Every breath you take in this shed is an opportunity to slow your own rhythm down, to match the rhythm of the leaves. There is no expectation on you. You do not need to provide answers or solve problems. You simply exist in the presence of this quiet labor, watching, breathing, and becoming part of the stillness. The world is soft, the air is clean, and time is merely the slow, rhythmic turning of a leaf. The afternoon sun is now lower, casting long, dramatic silhouettes that stretch across the wooden floorboard like reach of a giant, quiet hand. Ansho pauses for a moment, resting his hands on the edge of a sturdy, waist-high workbench. He takes a deep breath, filling his lungs with the intoxicating perfume of the withering leaves. This is the moment of the day he likes best, when the light is amber, thick and syrupy, and the work has reached a steady, manageable momentum. The rush of the morning, when the fresh, heavy harvest arrived in woven baskets, is long over. Now, it's just maintenance, a slow, methodical refinement that demands patience rather than speed. He turns to look at the far end of the shed, where the youngest leaves are spread thinner, almost translucent in the dying light. These are the silver tips, the most delicate part of the pluck. They require the most careful handling, the softest touch. He walks toward them, his feet making no sound on the worn floor. He knows that these specific leaves will define the character of the final batch, providing the subtle floral high notes that connoisseurs will eventually seek out. He reaches out not to turn them, but merely to smooth the surface, ensuring that no leaf is overlapping another in a way that might trap moisture. It is a gesture of profound care. As he works, the silence of the room becomes more than just an absence of noise. It becomes a presence, a heavy velvet blanket that cushions everything. The wind outside has died down, and for a short time the mountain holds its breath. This is the perfect moment to reflect on the nature of the work. You, watching him, can feel the same settling in your own spirit, the persistent nagging thoughts of your own life. The deadlines, the obligations, the constant push for productivity all seem to dissolve here, replaced by the simple ancient requirement of the task. You realize that there is a profound power in slow, purposeful work. It is the antithesis of the world outside this shed. In this century, there is no value placed on speed. Quality is the only metric. If the leaves are turned too quickly, the flavor is compromised. If they are left for too long, they lose their integrity. The worker and the leaf are in a constant silent dialogue, a negotiation over the pace of change. It is an honest labor, one that leaves no room for artifice or shortcuts. This is the core of the mountain spirit, a commitment to the process, a willingness to wait, and a deep respect for the raw materials of nature. You might find your own eyelids growing heavy, your awareness drifting into the rhythmic pulse of the shed. This is natural. The environment is designed to induce this very state. As you watch the golden light move across the bamboo, allow yourself to let go of the need to control your thoughts. Let them drift like the dust motes in the air. You are observing a history that is quiet, humble, and remarkably persistent. This is not a story of kings or wars, but a story of the soil, the air, and the patient hands that guide the earth's bounty into something refined and enduring. As we continue to walk through this day, let the stillness seep into your very bones. You are not just a spectator, you are a participant in this quiet, meditative experience. And if you find that this sense of peace is something you would like to return to, remember that there are many more tales of the past waiting to be told. If you find this slow, historical immersion helpful in your quest for calm and inspiration, please consider subscribing and following our journey, as it helps us bring more of these quiet, historical moments to life for you. The work continues, unbroken by the passage of time. Anshu reaches for the edge of a fresh tray, pulling it slightly toward the center of the shed to catch a final, lingering beam of sunlight. The movement is so familiar it is almost autonomic. He looks at his hands, seeing the green stains, not as dirt, but as the mark of a day well spent. He knows that soon the sun will vanish behind the peaks and the evening mist will begin its slow, silent climb back up the valleys. The shed will cool, the air will turn crisp, and the leaves will need to be covered for the night. But for now, in this lingering amber glow, he simply watches, waits, and breathes. The rhythm of the shed is your rhythm. The peace of the mountain is your peace. The golden light has finally surrendered, replaced by a soft, diffused twilight that fills the shed with a cool, silvery glow. The mountains are now silhouettes against a darkening sky, their peaks jagged teeth biting into the velvet blue of the dusk. Inside, the temperature has dropped and the air feels sharper, cleaner, and more invigorating. Anshu moves with a renewed, measured intensity, as the evening requires a different approach. Now that the warmth of the sun is gone, the drying process must be managed with more care. The leaves are sensitive to the humidity of the evening, and if the air becomes too damp, the work of the entire day could be undone. He begins to move from tray to tray, checking the moisture content one final time before the night takes hold. He runs his hand across the surface of the top tier. The leaves no longer feel like fresh, crisp greens. They have transformed, feeling more like soft, wilted silk. They are yielding, compliant, and ready for the next step of their journey. He takes a single leaf between his thumb and forefinger, rolling it gently. It does not snap. It coils, holding its shape with a quiet, persistent grace. This is the sign of a perfect wither. A small, satisfied smile touches his lips, invisible in the dimming light. He knows that the tea from this batch will possess a refined, elegant character, a testament to the conditions of the day, the balance of the wind, the strength of the sun, and the stability of the shade. Outside, the first few stars are beginning to pierce the veil of the coming night. A faint distant sound of a mountain stream echoes from the valley floor, a reminder of the vast wild landscape that cradles this tiny structure. Within these walls, the world is contained. The space feels intimate, protected, almost cocoon-like. The silence is profound, interrupted only by the occasional rustle of the bamboo and the soft rhythmic sound of Anshu's footsteps. It is a space where the noise of history, the expansion of empires, the clamor of industrial progress is silenced by the sheer overwhelming presence of the mountains. You may find that your breathing has synchronized with the pace of the room. It is a deep, slow rhythm, a reflection of the quiet, deliberate work taking place around you. Each movement in the shed is an act of preservation. By turning the leaves, Anshu is ensuring that they do not rot, that they do not dry too rapidly, and that their essential oils are concentrated and protected. It is a form of alchemy, the transformation of something raw and wild into something delicate and sophisticated. As you observe, you are essentially participating in this transformation. You are letting go of your own tension, letting your thoughts be turned and aired out, and finding your own sense of calm. There is a unique solace to be found in the repetition of a craft, whether it is the weaving of a basket, the turning of tea, or the writing of a history. The act of doing something with care and intent is inherently healing. It anchors the spirit. In the 1870s, as the world moved faster and more ruthlessly, this small shed in Darjeeling stood as a bastion of the slow and the steady. It is a reminder that there is value in the pause, value in the wait, and value in the quiet observation of the natural world. I should now begin to systematically cover the tiers with fine woven hemp cloth. This will protect the leaves from the night's heavy moisture-laden mist. The motion is practiced a reach, a drape, a smooth, a pull. It is a dance of fabric and hands, covering the tea like a mother tucking in a child. He works from the bottom up, his movements fluid and efficient. As he covers each tray, the scent of the tea becomes more concentrated, trapped beneath the fabric, swirling in the pockets of air between the layers. The shed feels warmer, more intimate as the day's labor is safely tucked away. As the last tray is covered, The room falls into a state of total absolute stillness. The work is finished, and the shed is ready for the night. Ansel pauses by the door, his silhouette framed by the faint, lingering light of the horizon. He takes one final look around, his eyes scanning the tiers one last time. Satisfied with the order and the care he has provided, he turns to leave, his footsteps quiet, his mind clear, his body tired but at peace. You are left alone in the soft, dark sanctuary of the shed, surrounded by the sweet sleeping scent of the leaves. The mountain air hums outside, a gentle, constant breeze that sings of endurance and time. Everything is exactly as it should be. The cycle of the day is complete, and the night has arrived to bring its own kind of restorative silence. The night has fully settled over the Darjeeling peaks, transforming the world outside the shed into an ocean of profound velvety darkness. Yet within the wooden walls, the air remains thick with the memory of the day. The leaves, now resting beneath their protective hemp covers, are not merely sitting, they are continuing their silent biochemical journey. In the cool of the night, the volatile oils within them are settling deep within the cellular structure of the plucked buds. It is a slow, cold maturation that gives the final tea its distinctive, nuanced character. You are still there, anchored in the stillness, observing the way the moonlight manages to breathe through the cracks in the cedar planks. These silver slivers of light cut across the room, illuminating the dust motes that continue their slow, gravity-defying dance in the heavy air. The smell is intoxicating now, deeper, earthier, with notes of damp wood, nocturnal flowers, and the lingering sweet fragrance of the tea itself. It is a scent that speaks of the mountains at rest, a scent that is both primal and deeply comforting. Anshu is gone, his work completed, but the energy of his labor remains imprinted on the space. There is a sense of completion here, a profound satisfaction that comes from a day spent in service to a craft that demands everything and rewards with patience. You realize that you have moved through the arc of a day alongside him. You have felt the warmth of the sun, the gentle persistence of the afternoon breeze, and now the velvet weight of the mountain night. The transition from the frantic pace of the world outside to this singular, isolated focus has been total. What is it about this specific historical moment that feels so profoundly grounding? Perhaps it is the lack of noise. There are no machines humming in the background, no distant sirens, no hum of electricity. There is only the wind against the shingles and the occasional sharp crack of the cedar as it settles in the cold. It is a sensory deprivation that allows the mind to truly stop racing. Without the constant input of modern life, your thoughts begin to mirror the environment. They become slower, more deliberate, and eventually they simply fade into the background. Consider the resilience of this place. In 1870, these mountains were a rugged, unforgiving frontier. The men and women who built these estates were working against the elements, against the terrain, and against the crushing isolation. Every piece of equipment, every wooden beam, every woven tray was carried up the winding, narrow trails by hand. The effort required just to exist here was immense, and yet there is no sense of struggle in this shed. There is only harmony. The structure has become a part of the landscape, a natural extension of the ridge it perches upon. It does not defy the mountain, it coexists with it. You might find yourself drifting into a light, dreamlike state. The repetitive nature of the narrative, the focus on the singular small details, and the emphasis on peace act as a sedative for the mind. This is a space where the concept of time is fluid. Is it truly 1870? Or are you simply existing in a moment that is outside of time entirely, a pocket of history that exists whenever one chooses to step into it? The boundaries of your own reality are expanding, softening, and blending with the quiet, dark, and fragrant atmosphere of the shed. As you lean into this state of deep relaxation, consider the journey of the tea leaf once more. Tomorrow it will be moved. It will be rolled to break its cell walls, oxidized in the humid air of the early morning, and finally fired to lock in its flavor. It will undergo a violent, dramatic transformation, but tonight it is simply resting. It is in a state of suspended animation, a pause between the life of the bush and the life of the cup. It is a perfect metaphor for your own existence, the need for the pause, the necessity of the rest, and the beauty of the in-between. Allow yourself to sink deeper into the comfort of this darkness. There is nothing to do here. There is no one to impress. The mountain will continue to hold the shed. The mist will continue to shroud the peaks, and the tea will continue its silent transformation. You are a witness to a process that is as old as the hills themselves. And in that witnessing, you have found a rare, quiet, and precious sense of stability. The night is long, the air is cool, and the stillness is infinite. Stay here as long as you need, letting the silence wrap around you like the soft, protective hemp cloth that covers the tea. Every breath you take is a release, and every moment that passes brings you closer to the deepest, most restorative sleep you have known. The deepest hour of the night has arrived, that fleeting segment of time when the world seems to hold its breath in expectation of the coming dawn. Inside the shed, the silence is so absolute that it feels heavy, a physical presence that presses against the walls and floors. The only sound, if you listen with the utmost intensity, is the faint rhythmic creaking of the cedar shingles as they expand and contract in the biting mountain chill. It is a slow, steady pulse, the heartbeat of the building itself, and it acts as a perfect hypnotic metronome for the mind. You are drifting, your consciousness untethered from the demands of your reality, floating in the gentle, fragrant dark where the scent of drying tea leaves has become a part of the very atmosphere you inhale. This is not a space of shadows that harbor fear, but a sanctuary of shadows that offer comfort. In the dim, silvery light that filters through the eaves, the outlines of the bamboo trays appear like the ribs of a great slumbering creature, safe and protected from the elements. There is a profound sense of security here. You are tucked away in the high, rugged embrace of the Darjeeling peaks, shielded from the storms and the trials of the world below. The tea, in its dormant, cover state, is essentially in a state of deep, restorative slumber, much like the one you are invited to partake in. It is a shared rest, a moment of profound cross-century synchronization where the human spirit finds common ground with the botanical world. Think of the legacy of this place, the untold stories of the people who built these estates. They were pioneers in a landscape that demanded absolute respect and physical endurance. They labored not for fame or recognition, but for the satisfaction of mastering a craft that was as complex as the weather itself. This shed is their monument, a testament to their patience and their dedication to quality. As you sit here in the quiet, you are walking in their footsteps, feeling the same cool air, smelling the same sharp, invigorating scent of the leaves, and experiencing the same slow, deliberate movement of time. It is a meditation on history, a way to connect with the past through the medium of the senses. The darkness is not an end, it is a transition. It is the time when the tea matures in its own quiet, unseen way, preparing for the transformation that the coming morning will bring. And in the same way, your own period of rest is a transition, a necessary pause that will allow you to wake refreshed, inspired, and renewed. The chaos of your daily life, the list of tasks, the urgent notifications, the persistent hum of the modern world, all of it is muffled here. It cannot penetrate the thick, protective walls of the shed, nor can it reach the quiet, grounded center of your being. You have created a buffer, a space of profound, unshakable peace. As the night continues to deepen, allow your mind to let go of its need for linear thought. There is no beginning, no middle, and no end to this experience. There is only the present moment, the scent of the tea, and the gentle, cool stillness of the room. If a thought does arise, acknowledge it. Then let it drift away, just like the mountain mist that gathers outside the windows before dissolving into the air. You are observing the process, not directing it. You are a part of the history, not the author of it. This perspective is inherently liberating as it relieves you of the burden of responsibility, allowing you to simply be. Sleepy History Tales is a sleep history storytelling platform created for entertainment, inspiration, education, and the promotion of positive emotional values. We exist to provide you with a gateway to these quiet, forgotten corners of the past, where the pace of life was dictated by the sun and the season, and where the human experience was defined by connection to the land and the task at hand. By stepping into these stories, you are not just escaping the present, you are reconnecting with a fundamental ancient rhythm of life that is often lost in our modern era. The peace you feel here is yours to carry with you, a quiet anchor that you can return to whenever the world feels too fast, too loud, or too demanding. As you linger in the safety of this midnight hour, feel the weight of your own body settling into the stillness. The floor beneath you is sturdy, the air around you is clean, and the future, whether it be the next morning in 1870 or the next day in your own time, can wait. There is no rush. The tea is safe, the mountain is silent, and you are entirely at peace. Let the memory of the shed, the sight of the moonlight on the bamboo, and the soft, earthy scent of the leaves be the last things you hold in your mind before you surrender completely to the dream of the past. You are safe, you are grounded, and the rest you find here is deep, profound, and absolute. The first faint, ethereal suggestion of dawn is beginning to bleed into the sky. A subtle shift from deep indigo to a bruised violet gray. The mountain range, so dark and imposing just hours ago, now reveals its jagged outline against the horizon. Inside the shed, the shift is felt through the cooling air that seems to vibrate with a new subtle energy. The night's profound stillness is beginning to fray at the edges, replaced by the soft, distant waking sounds of the mountain. A lone bird, hidden somewhere in the canopy of the tea bushes outside, offers a tentative, thrilling song that pierces the quiet. It is a lonely, beautiful sound that signals the end of the long, cold vigil. The tea, hidden beneath its hemp blanket, has undergone a metamorphosis. The damp, aggressive vitality of the fresh leaf has softened. Under the cover, the chemical changes have continued. Encouraged by the cool, consistent humidity of the night, it is now at the ideal point of readiness. If it were left longer, it would lose its vibrant profile. If it were handled too early, the delicate cell structures would shatter. Anshu, ever the master of this silent timing, will arrive soon. You can almost sense his approach, the soft crunch of boots on the gravel path, the rhythmic, purposeful stride of a man who knows exactly what the morning requires. As you wait in the dim light, contemplate the patience required for this endeavor. In our modern age, we are conditioned to demand instant results. We want the harvest without the wait, the finished product without the process. But here in the cold, misty light of an 1870 morning, reality is different. The quality of the tea is not something that can be manufactured. It must be allowed to happen. It requires the cooperation of the weather, the integrity of the soil, and the unwavering dedication of the worker. This is a lesson in the power of time. When we allow things the space and the quiet they need to develop, the results are invariably more complex, more nuanced, and more enduring. The smell inside the shed has changed again. It is less earthy, more floral, with a bright, sweet high note that signals the transition into the next phase of the process. It is the scent of potential. The leaves are ready for the rolling stage, where they will be gently massaged to release their essential oils, a step that will define the character of the brew for the thousands who will eventually enjoy it. You have been a witness to the most delicate part of this journey, the period where the leaf is at its most vulnerable, needing only protection and time. You feel a profound sense of connection to this place. It is as if you have been embedded in the architecture, a silent observer of the mountain's clock. The transition from the night's deep, protective darkness to the morning's tentative, hopeful light mirrors the transition in your own life, the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another. The peace you have found here is not fragile. It is the result of deep, consistent stillness. It is the kind of peace that holds even when the world wakes up and begins its noisy, chaotic movement. You have practiced being still, and that practice will serve you well when you step back out into the light of your own day. As the sky lightens to a pale milky gold, the temperature in the shed rises by a fraction of a degree. This is the signal that the day has truly begun. The mountains are waking. The mist is beginning to burn off the lower slopes, and the rhythm of the estate is about to restart. But for this final moment, everything is suspended in the golden quiet light. You are in the transition zone, the place between sleep and action, between the dream of history and the reality of the present. Soon, the wooden door will creak open. The morning air, rich with the smell of dew-dampened earth, will rush in, stirring the dust motes and waking the shed from its overnight hibernation. Anshu will enter, his movements familiar and sure. He will lift the hemp covers one by one to inspect the progress, and you will be there in the quietest, most protected corner of the room, fully at peace, fully restored. You have completed the vigil. You have experienced the rhythm of the mountain, the quietude of the drying process, and the deep restorative power of a history that values quality above all else. Carry this sense of calm with you as the sun begins to touch the peaks. The world may be about to start its engine, but you deep within will remain in the quiet golden light of the mountain shed, perfectly still, perfectly at rest. The door to the shed gives a long, low groan, a sound of aged timber protesting against the morning chill, and then it swings open to reveal a sliver of the outside world. The light that pours in is no longer the soft, diffused glow of night or the dim twilight of dawn. It is the sharp, brilliant, and invigorating clarity of a high-altitude sun striking the mountain ridges. Anshu steps over the threshold, his silhouette framed against the blinding brightness of the morning. He stands for a moment, letting his eyes adjust to the quiet interior of the shed, his breathing measured and slow. He is a man who moves with the land, his gait steady and his posture relaxed. Even as the day's responsibilities begin to mount, he reaches for his apron, adjusting the tie with a habitual, precise motion, and then he looks toward the tiers of bamboo. The air inside the shed seems to ripple as he walks through it, a gentle disturbance in the otherwise static atmosphere. He approaches the first stack of trays, the ones that hold the most delicate buds. He does not rush to uncover them. Instead, he pauses, leaning close to the hemp cloth, listening to the silence of the room. It is a moment of deep communion between the worker and his craft. He is checking the integrity of the environment, ensuring that the night's moisture has not settled too heavily into the leaves. He reaches out and touches the edge of a cloth, his fingers lingering on the coarse hand-woven fiber. It is dry, cool, and perfectly suited to the task. A small, subtle nod of satisfaction confirms that his work the previous evening was executed with precision. You watch him, yourself a shadow in the corner, feeling the return of the world's motion. The silence is no longer total. It is punctuated by the sounds of the estate waking up. Somewhere in the distance, a gate clangs shut. The faint rhythmic sound of workers' voices drifts up from the lower slopes, a soft communal hum that speaks of a day beginning in harmony. Yet, in this shed the pace remains intentional. Anshu begins the process of removing the covers, one by one. The action is deliberate, a slow folding of the hemp, a gentle tucking of the fabric away from the leaves as the trays are exposed to the morning air, the scent, the beautiful complex aroma of the withering tea is released, filling the shed with the promise of the coming harvest. It is a scent that bridges the gap between the earth and the cup. It is the raw, untamed spirit of the Darjeeling mountains, now tamed and refined by the process of drying. Anshu moves with a grace that is almost dance-like, his hands sweeping across the bamboo surfaces, turning, checking, and smoothing. He is not working for a clock, he is working for the tea. Each leaf, each bud is treated with a respect that feels almost reverent. This is the heart of the estate's ethos, the reason why these particular leaves will eventually be sought after across the globe. It is a dedication to this singular, repetitive, and quiet labor that elevates the mundane into something truly exceptional. Consider the contrast between the world of 1870 and the world of today. In our current era, we are often encouraged to see labor as a burden, a thing to be minimized or automated. But in the context of this mountain shed, labor is a form of expression, a direct physical engagement with the environment. Anshu's life is defined by his hands, his senses, and his ability to read the subtle signals of the air and the plant. It is a life of connection, not disconnection. By observing his movements, you are reclaiming a sense of that connection for yourself. You are learning that the quality of your own life is not determined by the speed at which you move, but by the intention you bring to every action. As he moves toward the center of the shed, he catches sight of the light glinting off the bamboo. He pauses, his gaze following the path of a sunbeam as it cuts across the dusty air. For a fleeting second, his expression shifts, a softening of his features that suggests he is not just a worker but a dreamer, someone who finds peace in the simplicity of his surroundings. He is a man in tune with his purpose, finding a profound, quiet fulfillment in the rhythm of his daily duties. You too have found a place of purpose in this story. By witnessing this, you are participating in a tradition that celebrates the quiet, the steady, and the human. If you find that this immersion in history provides you with a sense of peace and inspiration, remember that our goal is to share these moments with you regularly. Sleepy History Tales combines the power of AI to reimagine fictional historical tales, bringing peace, relaxation, and positive emotional values to our listeners. By following our journey and engaging with these stories, you are helping to keep this tradition of mindful storytelling alive. There is so much more to explore, so many more quiet corners of history to visit, and we are honored to have you with us on this journey of discovery and calm. As Anshu continues his work, the shed begins to transform, the morning light fully illuminating the trays. The tea is ready for the next stage, but that is a story for another time. For now, we remain in this moment of perfect preparation. The air is clear, the work is done, and the peace of the mountain has settled into your very core. You have moved through the cycle of the day, from the light of the afternoon to the darkness of the night, and back into the brightness of the morning. You have seen, smelled, and felt the essence of the mountain. You are ready to carry this stillness into your own world. A gentle, enduring reminder that at the heart of even the busiest life, there is a space for quiet, for rhythm, and for grace. Stay here as long as you wish, letting the image of the golden shed and the patient hands of the worker remain with you, a steady, calming anchor for your soul. The sun has climbed high enough now that its warmth penetrates the cedar walls, creating a subtle, comfortable heat that makes the shed feel even more alive. Anshu has finished the task of uncovering the trays and has moved to the next, equally vital stage, sorting. He sits on a low handmade stool in the corner, his back straight, his movements efficient. He's not just turning the leaves anymore. He's inspecting them with a clinical yet gentle eye. Every stem, every bruised edge, every leaf that does not meet the exacting standards of the estate is removed. It is a process of refinement, a thinning of the excess until only the purest, most perfect specimens remain. This is the stage where the raw harvest is distilled into its ultimate potential. The sound of his work is different now. A soft, rhythmic clicking of his fingernails against the bamboo as he sorts. It is a quiet, industrious sound, the sound of quality being crafted. You watch his hands, seeing how he sorts the larger, coarser leaves from the smaller, more tender buds. He knows that each grade of tea will find its own unique purpose, its own destination. There is a profound sense of order in this, a logic that mirrors the structure of the mountain itself. Everything has its place, everything has its value. He works with a steady, unhurried pace, and you find yourself once again settling into the comfort of his routine. In this moment, the shed feels like a place of transition. The work of the night is behind, the work of the day is ahead, and this, the sorting, is the pivot point. It is a moment of stillness between actions. You can feel the weight of your own thoughts settling as well. The internal clutter that we all carry, the nagging worries, the unfinished lists, the unresolved conflicts seems to be undergoing a similar process of sorting. You are discarding what is unnecessary, keeping what is essential, and finding a cleaner, more refined sense of yourself. This is the gift of the mountain shed, the ability to strip away the distractions and focus on the core. Think about the environment outside. The estate is a vast vertical landscape, a place where the air is thin and the light is intense. The tea bushes are resilient, growing in soil that is rich with minerals and washed by constant clean rain. The quality of the tea is a reflection of this environment, a direct distillation of the mountain's character. When you drink a cup of such tea, you are not just consuming a beverage, you are taking in a piece of that landscape, a fragment of that quiet, elevated existence. You are drinking the mountain itself. And here in the shed, you are witnessing the birth of that experience. There is a deep ancient wisdom in this. It is a reminder that everything we need, everything that truly sustains us, comes from the earth and is refined by our own patient hands. We often forget this in our modern technology driven world. We are so removed from the source, so disconnected from the physical reality of the things we consume, that we have lost the appreciation for the labor, the time, and the care that goes into them. By spending this time in the shed, you are reconnecting with that lost understanding. You are learning to value the process, to respect the time it takes, and to honor the humble, quiet efforts that go into making something beautiful. The room is now filled with a different kind of energy. It is no longer the heavy, expectant energy of the night, nor the soft, golden energy of the early morning. It is the energetic, productive pulse of the mid-morning. The light is bright and direct, catching the particles of dust and floating them in the air like diamonds. The smell is more intense, a concentrated burst of fresh green potential. You feel awake, sharp, and focused, yet remarkably calm. The agitation that might have brought you here has been replaced by a deep, resonant stillness that feels like it could last for hours. Take a deep breath and feel the air in your lungs. It is cool, crisp, and clean. A mountain breeze that has traveled over thousands of miles of wilderness to reach you. It is the breath of the world itself, and it is here, in this shed, that you are most acutely aware of it. You are a part of this, a part of the mountain story, a part of the history of the tea. You have earned your place in this quiet, peaceful space, and you are welcome to stay, to watch, to listen, and to rest. The work continues, the rhythm persists, and the peace of the Darjeeling mountains remains as constant as the peaks themselves. Everything is exactly as it should be, and in this you find your own perfect, absolute, and enduring rest. The morning sun has reached its zenith, and the shed is now a cathedral of light. The shadows have retreated into the corners, leaving the entire workspace bathed in a clear, brilliant radiance that reveals every detail of the bamboo mats and the cedar walls. Anshu has transitioned from the sorting phase to the final preparation of the tea for the firing process. His movements are even more deliberate now, as the window of opportunity for capturing the perfect flavor profile is closing. He gathers the salted leaves with a large flat wooden scoop, his motion steady and rhythmic. There is a profound sense of purpose in his work, a silent acknowledgement that he is the final gatekeeper of the tea's journey before the heat locks in its final character. He moves to the back of the shed, where a series of iron charcoal furnaces are built into the stone wall. These are the hearts of the estate, the source of the heat that will transform the withered, sorted leaves into the final finished product. He begins to tend to the coals, using a long-handled iron poker to stir the embers until they glow with an intense, steady crimson heat. The sound of the metal against the stone is crisp and sharp, a stark contrast to the soft rustle of the leaves. It is the sound of industry, of fire, and of transformation. The heat starts to rise, radiating from the furnaces and mixing with the cool mountain air, creating a unique, exhilarating climate within the shed. This is the moment of greatest consequence. The tea must be fired at just the right temperature to stop the oxidation process and fix the complex aromatic oils that the leaves have developed during the long, patient wither. If the fire is too hot, the delicate floral notes will burn away. If it is too cool, the tea will remain raw and unstable. Ansho's expertise is absolute. He doesn't need a thermometer or a clock. He senses the heat by the way it warms the air against his skin, by the way the scent of the charcoal mingles with the grassy aroma of the tea. It is an intuitive, sensory-based mastery that has been passed down through generations of tea makers, a language of heat and leaf that is spoken only in the quiet of the mountain estates. As he prepares to load the first batch onto the firing trays, take a moment to consider the weight of this decision. You are watching a process that is essentially the culmination of the entire season's work. Every raindrop, every hour of sunlight, every touch of the picker's hands, all of it has led to this exact second. There is no room for error, yet there is no frantic energy. There is only the calm, collected confidence of a master who understands the delicate balance of his craft. This too is a lesson in life. When we invest ourselves fully in our work, when we pay attention to the small details and honor the process, the outcome, whatever it may be, becomes a reflection of our integrity and our care. The first batch of tea hits the heated surface with a faint, sizzling hiss. It is the sound of the elements meeting, the earth of the leaf and the fire of the furnace. Almost immediately, the air in the shed is transformed. A new, deeper, and more complex fragrance floods the space. A rich, toasted, slightly smoky aroma that is the hallmark of the finest Darjeeling tea. It is a scent that captures the very essence of the mountains, distilled and intensified by the fire. It is heady, comforting, and deeply, profoundly satisfying. You can feel the change in the atmosphere. It is no longer just the cool, quiet mountain air, but something warmer, fuller, and more vibrant. As Anshu begins the rhythmic, patient work of stirring the leaves on the firing tray, his movements are like a conductor leading a symphony. He uses a pair of wooden pedals, moving the leaves in a slow circular motion to ensure that every part of the batch is exposed to the heat evenly. It is a continuous, hypnotic dance of wood on iron, heat on leaf. The silence of the shed is now filled with the steady, rhythmic sound of this motion. It is a sound that anchors the present moment, a sound that says, "This is what is happening right now, and nothing else matters." You are here, the fire is burning, the leaves are turning, and the tea is being made. If you find that this, our shared journey through the history of the mountain estate, has brought you peace, please consider supporting our work by subscribing and sharing this experience with others. Your engagement helps us continue to bring these moments of quiet, historical beauty to life, creating a space of calm and reflection for everyone who needs it. We are committed to continuing this series, and your presence as a listener is what makes it possible for us to keep weaving these tales of history and tranquility. The fire is steady, the tea is turning, and the air is filled with the scent of the mountains. You have been a witness to the entire cycle, from the silence of the night to the industrious, purposeful energy of the day. You have seen the dedication, the patience, and the profound, quiet beauty of a craft that celebrates the natural world. Stay with this feeling as long as you wish. Let the warmth of the furnace, the scent of the toasted tea, and the rhythmic sound of Ansho's work be a source of calm that you can return to whenever the world becomes too loud or too fast. You are in the heart of the mountain, in the heart of the history, and in the heart of the peace. Everything is exactly as it should be, and you're exactly where you need to be, completely, perfectly, and beautifully at rest. The firing process continues as the sun begins its steady decline, casting a long golden orange hue across the floor of the shed. The air is warm and dense with the intoxicating, toasted aroma of the curing tea. Ansho's rhythm has become more than just a task. It is a meditation. His body sways in a gentle, rhythmic motion, perfectly synchronized with the push and pull of the wooden pedals against the iron tray. He is entirely at one with the heat and the leaf, a testament to the decades spent refining this singular quiet art. Each turn is deliberate, each adjustment of the pedals calculated to maximize the evenness of the roast. The leaves are darkening, turning from their vibrant, withered green to a rich, burnished bronze. You watch the dance of the leaves as they tumble over the heated surface, a cascade of color that tells the story of their transformation. They are becoming something new, a refined product of the mountain that will soon find its way into teapots across the world. The intensity of the heat is constant, yet the atmosphere in the shed has softened. There is a sense of accomplishment in the air, a feeling that the hardest part of the work is coming to a successful, quiet conclusion. You too feel this settling, a profound sense of ease as the day's labor nears its end. The restlessness you might have felt earlier is now completely gone, replaced by a deep, resonant calm. Think of the patience that this requires. In a world that often demands instantaneous gratification, the tea maker's labor is a radical act of devotion to the long term, the process, and the quiet integrity of the material. There are no shortcuts here. The tea cannot be hurried and the fire cannot be ignored. It requires a constant, watchful presence, a state of mind that is both highly alert and perfectly relaxed. This is the essence of mindfulness, the ability to be fully present in the task at hand, to find joy in the repetition, and to understand that the value of the outcome is inextricably linked to the quality of the journey. As you sit in the silence of the shed, you realize how much of your own life is spent looking past the present moment, always anticipating the next task or the next achievement. But here, the present is all that exists. The way the light hits the bamboo screens, the way the sound of the furnace creates a soft, persistent hum, the way the scent of the tea seems to change with every shift in the air. These are the realities that define your experience. By paying attention to them, you are not losing time. You are regaining it. You are stepping out of the flow of the frantic world and into a stream of quiet, deliberate, and intentional living. The shadows are beginning to stretch across the workshop once more, marking the end of another cycle of labor. Ansho begins to reduce the intensity of the furnace, carefully raking the glowing coals to one side. The heat in the room starts to dissipate, replaced by the cool, crisp air of the approaching evening. It is a subtle shift, a gentle cooling that feels like a relief after the long hours of heat and effort. He uses a wide, shallow basket to scoop the finished tea from the tray, the leaves rustling with a crisp, dry sound that is immensely satisfying. He moves them to a wooden cooling table, spreading them out to settle into their final stable state. The final cooling is the last step before the packing. The tea is now at its peak, aromatic, complex, and imbued with the soul of the mountain. Anshu stands back for a moment, his hands resting on his hips, his eyes surveying the result of the day's work. There is a quiet satisfaction in his posture, a sense of having fulfilled his purpose with integrity and skill. He is a man who understands that his labor is not just about the tea, it is about the mountain, the estate, and the tradition he serves. And you have been a part of it all. You have walked the path of the harvest, from the morning mist to the evening cool, and you have carried with you a sense of the peace that comes from this slow, steady, and beautiful process. As the shed darkens and the stars begin to peer through the bamboo eaves, you are left with the lingering, comforting scent of the tea, a reminder that peace is not something we seek, but something we create by paying attention, by slowing down, and by honoring the world around us. The evening has descended with the swift, silent grace peculiar to these high altitudes, and the shed is once again wrapped in the gentle, cooling embrace of the mountain night. The intense heat of the firing furnace has faded, leaving behind only the comforting residual warmth that radiates from the stone hearth, lingering like the memory of a summer day. Anshu has finished his work for the time being, and the shed is bathed in the soft ambient glow of a single lantern hanging from a low rafter. The lantern light casts long, flickering shadows against the cedar walls, transforming the space into a cozy, intimate sanctuary. The tea now rests on the cooling tables, a dark, fragrant expanse of bronze and gold, settling into its final state of perfection. It is a moment of profound stillness, the kind of silence that feels heavy and sweet, as if the very air was saturated with the results of the day's labor. Amshu sits on his wooden stool, his back against the rough-hewn wall, his eyes closed. He is not asleep, but he is in a state of deep restorative repose. He is listening to the mountain, the distant rhythmic sigh of the wind through the tea bushes, the soft hoot of a nocturnal bird in the canopy above, and the occasional settling of the shed's wooden joints as the temperature drops. These are the sounds of his home, the language of the landscape he has dedicated his life to you. Watching him feel a sense of profound kinship, you have shared his day, felt the burden of his tasks, and tasted the quiet, earned satisfaction of his rest. There is a deep, unspoken bond between the witness and the worker, forged in the crucible of time and patience. Consider the journey these leaves have taken. They began as tender, dew-kissed buds plucked in the cool, fragile light of dawn, and have been transformed through a series of intentional physical encounters, the withering, the sorting, the firing. They have been touched, turned, heated, and cooled, all in the service of preserving the delicate, ephemeral essence of the mountain. It is a story of surrender and rebirth, a process that reflects the very cycle of life itself. We too are constantly undergoing our own transformations, being shaped by the experiences we encounter and the choices we make. The wisdom of the tea maker is the wisdom of accepting this process, of finding beauty in the gradual, the steady, and the inevitable. As the lantern flickers, the light dances over the piles of finished tea, highlighting the intricate shapes of the leaves. They are not uniform. Each is unique, a testament to the individual growth of the bush from which it was plucked. This diversity is the hallmark of a high-quality artisanal harvest, a reminder that nature is never perfect in the mechanical sense, but is always perfect in its own wild way. Anshu opens his eyes and gazes at the tea with a look of quiet, reflective pride. He is not looking at it as a commodity to be sold, but as a masterpiece to be honored. He knows the value of the effort that went into it, and he knows that the people who eventually drink this tea will be experiencing a moment of this same mountain-born tranquility. The air in the shed is now cool and crisp, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the day. It is the kind of air that clears the mind and sharpens the senses. You can feel the stillness in your own body, a calm that is deep and enduring. The chaos of the world outside, the urgency of your daily obligations, and the noise of the modern life, all of it seemed to have faded into insignificance. Here, in the heart of the Darjeeling Mountains, in the middle of a once 1870 evening, there is nothing to be done, nowhere else to go. There is only this moment, this quiet, and this peace. It is a rare, precious gift, one that you can carry with you long after the story ends. Anshu stands up, his movements slow and fluid. He reaches for a large heavy cloth and begins to cover the cooling tea, tucking the edges in with the same care he used for the withering rags. It is the final act of the day, a gesture of stewardship that signals the completion of the work. As he draws the cloth over the leaves, the scent is contained, concentrated, and intensified. The shed feels warmer, more protected, a hidden treasure chest of mountain-grown wonder. He walks toward the door, pausing to take one last look at his domain. He nods, a small, subtle gesture of contentment, and steps out into the night, the door creaking shut behind him. You are left alone in the soft, flickering light, surrounded by the sleeping tea, the quiet shadows, and the vast, silent beauty of the mountain night. You are entirely at peace, and you are ready to drift into the deepest, most restorative sleep you have ever known. The night outside the shed is now a vast ink-black curtain, pierced only by the distant crystalline glitter of stars that seem near enough to touch in the thin, rarefied air. Inside, the single lantern continues its silent vigil, casting a warm amber glow that paints the cedar planks in hues of burnt sienna and deep shadow. The room is quiet, save for the faint, almost imperceptible rustle of the leaves beneath their protective covers, as if they are settling into a final dreamless sleep. The silence is not empty. It is full, resonant with the memories of the day's labor, the warmth of the fire, and the steady grounding presence of the earth. You are still present, a silent inhabitant of this sanctuary, finding yourself immersed in the deep ancient rhythm of the mountainside. This is a space where the passage of time is not a measure of productivity, but a measure of presence. In the world you left behind, time is a commodity, something to be spent, saved, or squandered. But here in 1870, time is a companion. It is the slow cooling of the tea, the steady movement of the stars across the sky, and the gradual inevitable transition from one state to the next. You feel a profound sense of liberation in this, a release from the pressure to be somewhere else or to be somewhere else. You are exactly where you are, and that is more than enough. The simplicity of this existence is its greatest strength, an anchor that holds you steady against the tide of your own anxieties. Consider the dedication of those who live this life to wake before the sun, to navigate the treacherous, misty slopes of the Darjeeling mountains, to spend hours in the solitude of a wooden shed, nurturing a crop that requires such delicate, constant care. It is a life defined by commitment. It is not an easy life by any measure, yet there is a dignity in it that is often missing from the modern experience. It is a life rooted in the immediate, in the physical reality of the soil and the air, and in the profound, quiet pride of doing something well. As you dwell in this space, you absorb some of that dignity. You learn that the value of your own existence is not defined by external markers, but by the intention and the integrity you bring to the smallest, most repetitive aspects of your day. The scent of the room is a testament to this effort. It is no longer the sharp, aggressive, raw fragrance of the morning, nor the intense, smoky, toasted aroma of the firing. It is a complex, mature blend, a perfume that speaks of the mountain's terroir, the sun's energy, and the human hand's care. It is a grounding scent, one that pulls you inward, toward your own center. You can feel your breathing slowing even further, your heartbeat finding a calm, steady cadence that matches the stillness of the shed. This is the physiological impact of peace, a state of being where the nervous system is at rest, where the mind is clear, and where the spirit is at home. You might wonder if this peace is something that can be maintained once the story ends. The answer lies in the realization that this quiet space is not just a location in a remote mountain range, it is a state of consciousness. It is a place you can visit anytime you choose to slow down, to breathe, and to pay attention to the world around you. By holding the memory of this shed, the warmth of the lantern, and the patient rhythmic work of the tea maker. You are cultivating an inner sanctuary. Whenever the world starts to feel too demanding, you can return here to this moment of absolute undisturbed rest. The tea is finished, the fire is out, and the mountain is holding you in its quiet embrace. As the lantern flame begins to wane, casting a final soft flicker against the walls, you feel a deep, pervasive sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the history that has brought you here, for the labor that has provided this respite, and for the simple, beautiful fact of being present in such a tranquil place. The night is deep, the air is cold, and the world is far away. There is nothing to fear, nothing to regret, and nothing to anticipate. You are entirely, beautifully, and unconditionally safe. Let the darkness fold around you like a heavy velvet blanket, and let the silence of the mountain be the last thing you know as you slip into the deepest, most restorative sleep of your life. Every fiber of your being is relaxed. Every thought is still, and you are perfectly at rest. The lantern has finally sputtered and died, leaving the shed in a state of absolute velvet darkness, broken only by the thin silver moonlight that weaves its way through the cracks in the cedar shingles. This is the deepest, most profound stage of the night, where even the mountain seems to have fallen into a state of total unmoving slumber. The silence here is not merely an absence of sound, it is a weight, a soft, protective pressure that wraps around you. You are no longer observing the shed from the outside. You are embedded within its very fabric. The scent of the cured tea, now fully settled and resting, is the only thing that remains, a lingering earthy perfume that acts as the anchor for your senses. In this darkness, time has completely vanished. The year 1870 is no longer a distant mark in a history book. It is the present, a living, breathing reality that you inhabit with every breath. The absolute stillness of the room allows for a kind of clarity that is impossible in the frantic rush of daily life. Your mind, freed from the need to process visual stimuli or the intrusion of noise, begins to drift into the rhythm of the mountain itself. You are experiencing a form of deep meditative rest, where the boundaries between your own consciousness and the world around you begin to blur. It is a feeling of dissolution, a gentle letting go of the ego, the worries and the obligations that usually define your identity. In the dark, there is no you or I. There is only the environment, the cool air, the scent of the leaves, and the infinite quiet persistence of the night. It is a state of total surrender, an invitation to trust in the stillness and to find peace in the void. Consider the nature of this trust, to be here, in the dark, in an unfamiliar time and place, and to feel not fear, but profound comfort, is a sign that you have achieved a rare internal equilibrium. You have learned that the silence is not a threat, it is an ally. You have learned that the darkness is not a void, it is a cradle. You have learned that the pause is not a waste of time, it is the foundation of all true wisdom and restoration. This is the heart of what this mountain estate has to offer. A lesson in how to be still, how to be silent, and how to find yourself in the absence of the world's constant demand for your attention. The cold is becoming more noticeable now, a sharp, crisp touch on your skin that reminds you of the altitude and the proximity of the stars. It is a clean, honest cold, the kind that wakes up the spirit and forces the body to retreat inward, to gather its own warmth and find its own strength. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the floorboards, supported by the sturdy, hand-hewn cedar that has weathered 100 storms. There is a sense of ancient foundational stability here. You are anchored to the mountain, held by the same earth that nurtures the tea bushes, sustained by the same air that carries the scent of the forest. Everything is in its right place, and you are part of the order of things, a witness to the slow, steady progress of the world. As you linger in this profound dark sanctuary, let any remaining tension in your body simply evaporate. Start from your toes and let the relaxation travel upward a slow, gentle wave that unknots your muscles and leaves you feeling light, almost weightless. Your hands, once perhaps clenched with the stress of the day, are now open and still. Your jaw, often held tight, is relaxed. Your eyes, even in the dark, are soft. Your gaze drifting aimlessly, content to see nothing at all. This is the state of total physical and mental surrender. You are letting go of the need to understand, the need to control, and the need to achieve. You are simply existing, a small peaceful point of light in the heart of the mountain. There is a sense of timelessness here, a feeling that this moment could last forever, and you would be perfectly content. The world outside the shed might be moving on, wars might be starting or ending, empires might be rising or falling, but here the only thing that matters is the quiet, the cool, and the scent of the tea. You have entered a pocket of pure, unadulterated existence, a place where you are safe, where you are valued, and where you are entirely at peace. This is the ultimate gift of the mountain, the ability to find a home within yourself, a place of stillness that no amount of outside pressure can ever touch or disturb. Stay here as long as you wish, letting the darkness, the cold, and the silence be your companions. You have earned this rest, and you deserve this peace. You are not just a spectator, you are a part of the mountain's enduring story, and you will carry this stillness with you, a quiet golden light that will guide you back to yourself whenever the world feels too far away. The transition from the deepest dark of the night to the first tentative gray of the new morning is a slow, almost imperceptible process, as if the mountain itself was struggling to wake from a dream. You remain in the shade, your consciousness suspended in that delicate, ethereal space between waking and sleeping. The air has shifted, losing some of its sharp nocturnal bite and taking on the slightly softer, more expectant feel of the dawn. The wood of the shed seems to sigh, the cedar expanding in the subtle change of temperature, a sound so quiet it is felt more than heard. You are profoundly aware of the silence. It is the silence of anticipation, the pause before the world begins its daily cycle anew. This is the moment when the mountain waits for the sun and you are waiting with it, perfectly aligned, perfectly at rest. In the faint emerging light, you can begin to make out the shapes of the room once more, the tiers of bamboo trays, the dark, heavy bulk of the firing furnace, and the soft draped forms of the cooling tea. They are like old friends, familiar and comforting in the early filtered light. You have spent hours here, and the shed has become a place of profound significance to you. It is more than just a structure of wood and iron. It is a repository of intent, a monument to the patience required to create something beautiful. As the gray light slowly strengthens, you feel a gentle return to your own body, a grounding that is both firm and entirely welcome. The sensation is one of being reassembled, piece by piece, from the stillness into the reality of the morning. Consider how the act of waiting, of simply being present without the demand for action, has transformed you in your own life. The waiting is often filled with anxiety, a feeling that you are falling behind or missing out. But here in the mountains of 1870, you have learned the art of patient observation. You have seen that time is not a linear march toward a goal, but a cycle, a rhythm that includes both the labor and the rest, the noise and the silence, the day and the night. By embracing this rhythm, you have bypassed the anxiety and found a sense of timelessness that is inherently healing. You have learned that the world will continue, the sun will rise, and the harvest will come. Regardless of your urgency, the peace you have found is the peace of acceptance. The light is now turning a pale pearly white, filtering through the bamboo screens and casting long slender lines of clarity across the dusty floor. The dust motes are starting their dance again, a tiny suspended ballet that marks the return of the world's energy. You hear the first movement outside, the soft distant trail of a mountain bird, followed by the faint muffled sound of footsteps on the gravel path. It is the beginning of the end of your vigil. Soon the door will open. The morning air will rush in, and the cycle of labor will recommence. But for now, you remain in this final precious bubble of solitude, holding on to the quiet, grounding experience of the night. You are not rushing to meet the day, you are allowing it to meet you. And this is the beauty of this historical immersion. It is not about the facts or the figures, but about the feeling of being in a different time, a different rhythm. You have been granted a window into a life defined by connection to the land and the task at hand. You have felt the weight of the work and the depths of the rest. You have learned that peace is not an escape from the world, but a way of engaging with it, with intention, with patience, and with a deep, abiding respect for the process. As the dawnlight begins to gold the tips of the mountains, you feel a sense of completion. The story has been told, the vigil has been kept, and you are ready to carry this sense of tranquility back into your own life. The morning light is now full and clear, casting a warm golden glow across the entire shed. The tea, still covered, is waiting for the next step, a journey that will take it far beyond these mountain peaks. And you are ready to return to your own journey, carrying with you the stillness of the night, the clarity of the dawn, and the enduring lesson that at the core of all existence there is a place of profound, unshakable peace. You are refreshed, you are centered, and you are fully present. The world is waking up, but you are not the same person you were when you arrived. You are quieter, deeper, and more attuned to the beauty of the slow, steady progress of life. Everything is ready. The day is here, and you are prepared to meet it with the same grace and patience you have found in this sacred mountain perch sanctuary. The sun is now fully awake, cresting the highest peaks of the Darjeeling Range and flooding the shed with an intense, brilliant gold. The dust motes, caught in the shafts of light, swirl in a complex, energetic pattern as if they are celebrating the return of the day. The air, once cool and heavy with the darkness of night, is now warming rapidly, and you can smell the transition. The crisp, clean scent of the mountain morning mingling with the rich toasted aroma of the tea that sits under its protective cover. This is the moment when the shed truly comes to life. The wood, warmed by the sun, begins to expand with soft, rhythmic pops and sighs, the sound of a living structure settling into its daytime configuration. You sit perfectly still, a silent participant in this daily renewal, watching the light reach into the farthest, darkest corners, banishing the shadows of the night. Think of the energy required to sustain this life, this pursuit of quality in such a challenging and isolated environment. It is a commitment that goes beyond the professional. It is a way of being. Every action taken by Anshu, every movement of his hands is informed by a deep understanding of the delicate balance between the mountain's bounty and the human need to refine it. You have been a witness to this, and the experience has changed the way you view your own work and your own life. You realize that you too have the capacity to bring this level of intention to your tasks. You can choose to see your daily responsibilities not as chores to be rushed through, but as opportunities for craft, for care, and for the practice of presence. The outside world is beginning to make its presence felt. You hear the faint melodic sound of a whistle from a distant worker on the tea terraces, the rhythmic crunch of a cartwheel on the path, and the soft collective chatter of the crew preparing for the morning pluck. It is a busy, productive, and harmonious sound. You are reminded that you are on a working estate, a place where the livelihood of many depends on the success of the harvest. There is a weight to this, a sense of collective purpose that is both grounding and inspiring. In your own life, you're also part of a larger, interconnected web of labor and purpose. Recognizing this can provide a sense of stability, a realization that you are not working in a vacuum, but are part of a community, a lineage, and a shared human story. As you look around the shed one last time before the inevitable intrusion of the morning crew, you see it not as a static historical museum, but as a space of ongoing, vibrant creation. The bamboo trays, the iron furnace, the heavy cedar beams, they are all tools of a living tradition. You have been allowed to step inside, to breathe the air, to feel the rhythm, and to take what you need from this experience. What you take is entirely up to you. It might be the memory of the stillness, the lesson of the patient wither, or the simple comfort of knowing that, even in the most intense and demanding environments, there is always a space for quiet, for reflection, and for grace. The door, which has been shut for the duration of your stay, is about to be opened. You can feel the change in the air pressure, a subtle shift that signals someone is approaching. The moment of absolute solitude is nearing its end, but the peace you have cultivated is not. It is yours to keep a quiet, internal harbor that you can access regardless of your physical location. Whether you are in a bustling city or a quiet room, whether you are dealing with the pressures of the modern world or simply finding your way through your own day, this memory is your refuge. You have learned that peace is not an absence of activity, it is a quality of presence. Take one final deep breath of the mountain air, filling your lungs with the scent of the tea, the wood, and the earth. Let that breath sustain you as you prepare to return to your own reality. You are standing on the edge of a new day, refreshed and renewed by your time in the past. The history you have witnessed is a testament to the endurance of the human spirit and the beauty of the natural world. It is a reminder that, no matter how much things change, the core human needs for connection, for purpose, and for peace remain the same. You are ready. The door is about to open, and you will step back into your own life, carrying the stillness of the mountain in your heart, a steady guiding light that will remain with you long after the sun has set on this beautiful historical day. You have finished your vigil, you have kept the faith, and you're entirely perfectly at rest. The door creaks open with a familiar wooden protest, and the light from the outside floods in, momentarily blinding you with its sudden intensity. The morning air, thick with the damp sweetness of the dew-laden slopes, rushes through the doorway, displacing the stale, settled atmosphere of the shed. With it comes the sound of the estate waking up, the distant rhythmic clinking of metal tools, the soft muffled voices of the pickers, and the occasional sharp call of a bird navigating the mist. You watch as Anshu enters his stride, purposeful and calm. He is wearing his weathered, familiar work clothes, and his expression is one of focused readiness. He does not notice you, for you have become, in these long hours of stillness, a part of the shed itself, a silent, observant shade within the structure. He walks straight to the center of the room, his eyes scanning the tiers of bamboo with an appraising, professional gaze. He checks the humidity, he tests the air, and he reaches for the corner of one of the heavy hemp covers. As he lifts it, the fragrance of the tea fills the room once more, vibrant and inviting. He begins to move with a renewed energetic grace, flipping the leaves, inspecting their color, and ensuring that the final stage of their drying is progressing exactly as he intended. His work is so instinctive, so deeply ingrained, that he doesn't need to think about his movements. It is a dance of experience and intuition, a testament to a lifetime of service to the mountain's bounty. You watch him with a sense of quiet admiration, noting how he handles each leaf with the same respect he would show a person. The contrast between the silence of the night you just endured and the bustle of the new day is striking. The estate is a place of perpetual cycle. The tea is always in some state of change, being plucked, being withered, being fired, being packed, or being transported. There is no point of absolute completion, only the endless rolling rhythm of the seasons and the harvest. In this you find a deep resonant lesson about your own life. You're also part of a cycle, a participant in an ongoing shifting reality. You too have your periods of intense labor and your periods of quiet, restorative rest. By observing Anshu, you are learning that the key to managing this cycle is not to resist it, but to move with it, to find your own rhythm, and to treat each phase whether it be the quiet of the night or the intensity of the day, with equal presence and care. You feel a sense of lightness in your limbs, a physical manifestation of the mental rest you have achieved. The heavy, restless energy that often accompanies the pressure of modern living has been replaced by a grounded, steady focus. You are here, you are present, and you are entirely comfortable in your own skin. This is the ultimate quiet reward of the vigil. As Anshu continues his rounds, the sound of the shed, the soft rustle of the bamboo, the light tapping of his fingers, the creak of the wooden floor becomes a symphony of peace, a sound that you will carry with you long after you leave this place. It is a soundtrack for the soul, a reminder of the value of the slow, the steady, and the simple. Consider the beauty of this singular focused existence. Anshu's world is small, bounded by the walls of the shed, yet it is deep, rich, and filled with meaning. He doesn't need to see the whole world to understand its essence. He sees it in the leaves, in the sun, in the wind, and in the work of his own hands. By narrowing your focus, by letting go of the need to be everywhere and to do everything, you too can find this depth. You can find meaning in the smallest, most routine tasks if you bring enough awareness and intention to them. This is the secret of the mountains, that true lasting contentment is found not in the grand gesture, but in the faithful, patient execution of the present moment. As he prepares to move the tea to the final sorting station, the light from the door illuminates his face, revealing a soft, satisfied smile. He knows he has done well. The harvest is of the highest quality, and he has shepherded it through its most delicate, transformative stages with skill and integrity. You feel a matching sense of satisfaction, a pride in having stayed the course, in having witnessed the process, and in having found your own quiet peace within it. The morning is fully underway. The estate is alive with purpose, and you are ready to step back into your own life, carrying the memory of this golden, mountain-perched sanctuary like a shield against the noise and the haste of the world. You are prepared, you are whole, and you are finally truly and profoundly at rest. The morning air, now thoroughly warmed by the sun, flows through the open door, carrying with it the sounds of the active tea estate. You watch from your corner as Anshu begins the intricate process of packing the finished dried leaves into large wooden chests lined with protective aromatic paper. His movements are deliberate, rhythmic, and perfectly efficient. He reaches into the cooling table, gathers a handful of the bronze-toned leaves, and places them gently into the container. It is a slow, methodical task, one that signifies the conclusion of the long process you have been observing. Every gesture is filled with care, ensuring the leaves are not crushed, that they remain whole and vibrant for the long journey that awaits them. The sound of the dry leaves shifting is like a gentle, papery whisper, a final acknowledgement of their transition from the mountain bush to the world beyond. You have spent so much time in this space that the scent of the tea now feels like a permanent part of your own consciousness, a grounding fragrance that reminds you of the deep earthy stability of the mountain. You see the pride in Anshu's eyes as he secures the lid of the chest. He knows the quality of what is inside. He has honored the mountain, the estate, and the labor of his fellow workers. This sense of completion is infectious. You find yourself feeling a parallel sense of accomplishment. You have followed this story through the night, through the silence and into the light, and you have remained present, patient, and observant. This is a rare, quiet achievement in an age that rarely allows for such sustained focus. As you reflect on the journey, it is clear that the peace you have cultivated is the most precious harvest of all. You have learned that the world's noise is only as powerful as you allow it to be. By anchoring yourself in the rhythm of the mountain, the slow turn of the leaves, the cool damp of the night, the warm radiance of the day, you have built a fortress of calm within yourself. And if you find that you need to return to this place to rediscover this level of peace, please know that we are here to guide you. If you have found inspiration in this story and wish to join us on future historical explorations, please consider subscribing to our channel and sharing your journey with others. Your support allows us to continue creating these immersive, calming experiences for those who need a moment of tranquility in their lives. Anshu now turns his attention to the shed itself, beginning the process of cleaning the bamboo trays for the next harvest. It is a task that looks just as meditative as the sorting and the firing. He brushes away the dust and stray fibers, his motions gentle and respectful. The shed is a tool, and like any fine instrument, it must be cared for and kept in prime condition. There is a deep, resonant wisdom in this to care for the things that serve you, to maintain the spaces that nourish you, and to approach even the cleaning with a sense of purpose and calm. This is the final lesson of the mountain estate. Everything we touch, every space we inhabit, and every task we perform deserves our best, most mindful effort. The sunlight has reached the back of the shed now, highlighting the intricate joinery of the cedar walls. The room is glowing with a soft, warm radiance that makes the very air feel golden. You feel a pull to finally move, to step out of the shadows and back into the flow of time. But you do so with a newfound softness. You are no longer carrying the tension you brought with you. Instead, you are carrying a quiet, persistent stillness that is as steady as the peaks outside. The mountains have done their work on you, and you are ready to carry that peace back to your world. As Anshu prepares to leave the shed for the mid-morning break, he stops at the doorway for a final moment. He looks out over the vast terrace slopes of the estate, his expression calm, clear, and utterly present. He takes a long, deep breath of the mountain air, and for a split second, his eyes seem to meet yours, as if he acknowledges the quiet company you have kept. Then he steps out, the door swinging shut behind him, leaving you in the warm, golden, and profoundly peaceful silence of the shed. You are standing on the threshold of your own return. The air is clear, your mind is settled, and you are ready to step out into the world. You are fully restored, fully at rest, and perfectly aligned with the quiet, enduring rhythm of the life you have lived today. The shed is quiet now, a sanctuary left in the wake of the morning's productive pulse. The sunlight has shifted, creeping higher up the far wall, turning the weathered cedar into a rich, glowing tapestry of history. You remain in your place, feeling the transition of the day as it moves toward the noon hour. The air is warm, smelling intensely of the residual tea, a perfume that has soaked into the very fiber of the wood and the woven bamboo. There is a sense of lingering presence here, as if the space itself is holding the memory of all the hands that have worked within it, all the conversations that have been whispered, and all the quiet moments of reflection that have occurred over the long decades. You are a guest in this history, a temporary inhabitant of a place that is timeless. Consider the journey of a single leaf, from the moment it is plucked from the bush to the final finished state you have observed. It is a transformation of total surrender. The leaf must give up its moisture, its shape, and its raw green vitality to become something new, something refined, and something enduring. It is a process of letting go, of being reshaped by heat and air and human touch. You realize that your own life is not so different. You too are constantly being shaped by the elements you encounter, by the experiences you endure, and by the intentions you hold. The peace you have found here comes from the ability to accept this process, to move with the changes rather than fight them, and to trust that even in the most difficult or challenging times, there is a transformation occurring that will ultimately lead to a more refined, more purposeful version of yourself. This is the deeper meaning of the tea maker's work. It is not just about the final product. It is about the mastery of the process itself. Anshu's life is a masterclass in how to live with intention. He does not rush the weather. He does not force the fire, and he does not ignore the needs of the leaf. He works in total harmony with the nature of the plant, the conditions of the mountain, and the limitations of his tools. This is a model for your own existence. When you feel the pressure of the world, remember this shed. Remember the slow, rhythmic turning of the bamboo, the patient waiting for the color to change, and the quiet satisfaction of a job done with care. You can bring this same focus, this same patience, and this same integrity to your own tasks, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant they may be. As you sit in the silence, you find that your own thoughts have quieted significantly. The mental chatter has dissolved, replaced by a deep, resonant awareness of your own breath and the subtle shift of the air in the room. You are not thinking about the future, nor are you dwelling on the past. You are here, fully anchored in the present moment. This is the ultimate gift of the mountain estate. It is a physical and mental space where the distractions are stripped away, leaving only the fundamental reality of being alive. It is a profound, grounding experience that stays with you long after the moment has passed. A quiet, internal steady point that you can return to whenever you need to find your center. The afternoon sun is now casting its brilliant rays through the bamboo screens, creating a shimmering effect that makes the air look as if it is made of liquid gold. It is a beautiful, almost ethereal sight. You feel a sense of profound well-being, a contentment that is not dependent on circumstances, but is instead an internal state of grace. You have walked through the entire cycle of a day in the life of a 1870 Darjeeling tea estate, and you have come out the other side feeling cleaner, sharper, and more deeply at peace. The mountains have imparted their endurance to you, and the work has imparted its purpose. You are ready to carry this with you. The shed will soon be opened again. The cycle will repeat and the work will continue as it has for generations. But for this final extended moment, you are still in the quiet, you are in the stillness, you are in the heart of the peace. The tea is packed, the tools are clean, and the mountain is watching over everything with its silent, stony authority. You take a final deep breath, holding the memory of this place in your spirit. The transition back to your own life is smooth, a gentle stepping out from the shadows of the past into the bright open reality of your own present. You are ready, you are centered, and you are entirely at rest. The peace you have found is not a fleeting thing. It is a part of who you have become. The light has shifted once more, the afternoon sun now leaning toward the western horizon, casting long dramatic shadows that stretch across the wooden floorboards like silent, reaching fingers. The intensity of the day is waning, and a profound mellow calm has settled over the entire estate. You find yourself rooted in the stillness, the air in the shed, now cool and still again, as if the space itself is exhaling after a long active cycle. The scent of the tea, while still present, has softened into something more elusive, a faint woody whisper that reminds you of the deep ancient forests that cling to the mountain slopes far below. It is a time of transition, a quiet golden interlude before the arrival of the evening. In this waning light, you contemplate the endurance of the land. These mountains have stood for aeons, watching the passage of generations, the rise and fall of empires, and the fleeting, busy lives of those who toil upon their slopes. There is a humbling perspective to be found in the scale of the mountains. Your own concerns, the things that often loom so large in the landscape of your mind, are revealed to be small, transient, and ultimately manageable. The mountain does not rush. It does not worry. It simply exists in a state of eternal, unfolding becoming. By spending this time in its presence, you have inherited a measure of that stillness. You have learned that peace is not something you must struggle to attain, but something you allow yourself to inhabit when you let go of the struggle itself. Consider the role of the shed in this wider timeless context. It is a small human-made point of intersection between the Earth's wild vitality and the refined, disciplined nature of human endeavor. It is a place where the mountain's gifts are gathered and honored, where the labor of the day is sanctified by the patience of the craft. You realize that your own life is also such a space, a point, where the raw energy of the world meets your own consciousness, and where, through your intentions and your choices, you can refine that energy into something of meaning, beauty, and grace. The shed is a mirror, reflecting back to you the potential for purpose that resides in every human life, no matter how quiet or isolated it may seem. As you sit in the deepening twilight, you feel a sense of profound, quiet gratitude, not just for the experience of this story, but for the life you are returning to. You see it now with fresh eyes, stripped of the layers of urgency and anxiety that usually obscure its true simple beauty. You understand that your daily life is not a series of problems to be solved, but a series of moments to be lived, each one a small, distinct opportunity to bring your best, most mindful self to the table. This is the enduring, transformative power of this journey. You have come here seeking a respite, and you are returning with a compass. The darkness is beginning to gather in the corners once again, a familiar, soft, and protective presence. You know this space now. You have walked its perimeter in the dark and the light. You have felt the change of the seasons in its air, and you have heard the rhythm of the mountain in its silence. It feels like a home, a place of safety that you can revisit in the landscape of your memory whenever the world feels overwhelming. This is the strength of the inner life, that you can carry your sanctuary with you, building it out of the stillness you find in the most unexpected places. As the first star appears through the gap in the roof, a tiny piercing light of clarity, you feel a deep, resonant completeness. The cycle you have observed is over, but it is also beginning again, as it always does. The tea is gone, the tools are put away, the mountain remains. You are ready to close your eyes, to let the silence wash over you, and to embrace the sleep that is the final ultimate form of rest. The world is vast, the history is deep, and you are exactly where you need to be. Everything is silent, everything is still. You have finished your vigil, you have found your center, and you are at peace. The darkness is a gentle velvet embrace. The mountain is a steady, ancient presence, and you are at last perfectly, entirely, and beautifully at rest. The moon has risen high above the mountain ridges, casting a silvery, ethereal glow that turns the landscape outside the shed into a sea of shadow and light. Inside, the darkness is complete, absolute, and profoundly comforting. You find yourself in the heart of this silence, a witness to the profound nocturnal life of the estate. The air is crisp, carrying the sharp, clean scent of high-altitude frost, a stark contrast to the warmth of the sun-drenched hours you have spent here. Everything is still. The mountain itself seems to be holding its breath, waiting for the slow, inevitable turn of the earth. You are entirely at peace, a small, quiet presence within the grand, ancient theater of the night, feeling the deep foundational stability of the land beneath you. There is a sense of finality to this moment, a conclusion to the long unfolding story you have been living. You have moved through the day and the night, through the labor and the stillness, and you have reached a place of utter, unmoving clarity. You realize that the peace you have discovered is not something that can be described or measured. It is something that must be experienced, felt in the very marrow of your bones. It is the peace of knowing that you are exactly where you are, and that is enough. It is the peace of understanding that you are a part of a much larger, older narrative, one that does not require your constant struggle or your endless striving. Consider the nature of the rest you have attained. It is not merely the absence of activity. It is the presence of a quiet, deep, and abiding awareness. You are fully awake, yet your mind is as still as the mountain lake in the moonlight. You are fully aware, Yet your body is as relaxed as the soft velvet shadows in the corners of the shed. This is the state of total meditative integration, where the body, the mind, and the spirit are aligned in a single harmonious pulse. It is a state that you can cultivate in your own life, a place of sanctuary you can retreat to whenever the world feels fractured or frantic. You are the architect of your own peace, and you have the blueprint. The silence is so complete that you can hear the faint, rhythmic sound of the mountain wind, a low musical sigh that moves through the tea bushes like a gentle, unseen hand. It is a sound that speaks of vast distances, of timeless processes, and of the enduring patience of the natural world. By tuning into this sound, you are reconnecting with a part of yourself that has been waiting to be heard, a part that has been drowned out by the noise of your daily life. You are rediscovering your own inner resonance, the frequency of your own soul. It is a homecoming, a return to the truth of your own being, stripped of the expectations, the roles, and the masks you wear in the world. As you linger in the cool, silver-lit darkness, you feel a deep, abiding gratitude for the journey you have taken. You have traveled through time and through space, through the history of a craft and the geography of a landscape, and you have arrived at the only destination that ever mattered, yourself. You have learned that the peace you were looking for was never something you could find outside of yourself. It was something you had to cultivate within. And by witnessing the quiet, disciplined, and patient life of the mountain estate, you have been given the tools to do just that. You are transformed, you are centered, you are complete. The morning will come soon, and with it, the cycle will begin again. The birds will sing, the mist will rise, the workers will return, and the shed will be filled with the energy of another day of labor. But you will be different. You will carry this stillness with you, a quiet golden thread that runs through everything you do. You will be able to touch this peace whenever you need to. A silent, steady anchor in the midst of any storm. The night is deep. The stars are cold and bright, and the mountain is eternal. You are safe. You are at rest. You are entirely, perfectly, and beautifully at home in the world. As you drift towards sleep, the last thing you know is the profound, mountain-grown silence, a sanctuary that will remain with you long after the dawn breaks. The gray veil of pre-dawn light begins to seep through the gaps in the cedar walls, a soft, diffuse luminescence that gradually replaces the stark silver clarity of the moonlight. You are still there, anchored in the same corner of the shed, a silent observer of the shift from the deep nocturnal void back into the realm of human time. The air remains cool, carrying the scent of damp earth and the faint sweet grassy aroma of the tea that has now rested for 2 full cycles. There is a weightless quality to this moment, a sense of suspension where the world is not yet fully formed, a blank slate upon which the day will soon be written. You feel an immense quiet gratitude for this grace, this opportunity to witness the birth of a day from within the sanctuary of the shed. Think of how the mountain itself welcomes this return of light. The peaks emerge from the darkness like ancient sleeping giants stirring from their slumber, their rugged silhouettes gradually sharpening against the lightening sky. The birds begin their tentative melodic rehearsals, a chorus that starts with a single lonely note and builds into a symphony of anticipation. This is the pulse of the earth, a rhythm that knows nothing of your calendars or your clocks, only the fundamental recurring necessity of light following dark. By staying here, you have synchronized your own internal rhythm with this larger, deeper pattern. You have let go of the artificial constraints that often define your life and surrendered to the natural, unfolding grace of the world. Your mind in this clarity sees the shed not as a place of work, but as a place of profound human connection. The generations of tea makers who have stood here, the thousands of hours of labor, the countless cups of tea that have been poured in homes across the globe, all of this history resides in these walls. You are participating in a tradition that spans centuries, a lineage of care and craft that connects the land to the person, the mountain to the cup, and the past to the present. You realize that you are not just an observer, but a link in this chain. By finding peace here, you are keeping a flame alive, a beacon of stillness that the world in its constant rush so desperately needs. The first rays of the sun, filtered through the morning mist, create a golden, hazy light that fills the room with an almost magical quality. It is as if the shed were floating in a sea of amber, detached from the realities of gravity and time. You feel a sensation of profound inner lightness, as if the burdens you carried when you arrived have been entirely dissolved by the cumulative experience of these hours. The stillness is no longer something you are observing, it is something you are embodying. It is a quiet, steady, and radiant presence that emanates from your very core. This is the culmination of your vigil, the realization that the peace you sought was all along the peace you possessed. As the estate outside begins to wake, the distant familiar sounds of the morning chores drawing closer, you prepare to step out into the world. You do so with a deliberate, measured grace. The shed in this final moment feels like a sacred space, a place where you have been refined and renewed. You know that you will carry its quiet with you. You have learned that the chaos of the outside world cannot touch this inner sanctuary, provided you remember to return to it, to breathe, and to honor the stillness that dwells within you. The door is about to open, the day is about to unfold, and you are ready. You are not leaving this place behind. You are taking it with you. The scent of the tea, the cool touch of the air, the golden quality of the light, and the rhythmic, steady silence. These are now your own. They are the components of your own personal landscape of peace, a landscape you can revisit whenever the world feels loud, fast, or demanding. You have finished your vigil. You have kept the promise of your own soul, and you are ready. As the first footsteps of the crew crunch on the gravel path outside, you smile, a quiet, knowing expression of completeness. You are entirely, perfectly, and beautifully at rest, and you are ready to begin again. The door opens, not with a sound of intrusion, but with a familiar steady creak that you have come to recognize as the song of the shed. Morning light, sharp and bright, cuts through the threshold, and the first workers enter with the soft rhythmic tread of those who have moved across these mountain paths for a lifetime. You remain in your corner, a quiet ghost in the architecture of the morning, watching as the cycle begins anew. Ansho is there, leading the team with a quiet, authoritative presence. He moves with the same grace he had when the shed was empty, his hands conducting the work of his crew, as if they were parts of a single larger organism. There is no urgency in his commands, only a clear shared understanding of what needs to be done. You watch the unfolding of the day's labor with a sense of detachment that is entirely devoid of coldness. Instead, it is a sense of pure witnessing clarity. You see the pride in the way they handle the bamboo, the respect with which the respect with They are not working for themselves, they are working for the mountain, for the future of the estate, and for the preservation of a way of life that values substance over speed. Being in the presence of such focused, collective purpose is profoundly grounding. You are no longer just an observer of the process. You are a witness to the beauty of human devotion. The atmosphere in the shed has changed, becoming more vibrant and alive, filled with the energy of human connection and the sounds of productive work. The quiet, solitary peace of your long vigil has shifted into a social, rhythmic peace, a different but equally powerful form of harmony. You realize that you have moved through the entire spectrum of the experience, from the absolute meditative stillness of the night to the busy, cooperative energy of the day. Both are essential, both are beautiful, and both are manifestations of the same fundamental peace. You have learned that tranquility is not merely the absence of sound or action. It is the capacity to remain centered and present, regardless of whether you are alone in the silence or surrounded by the bustle of the world. Think of the legacy of this place. In the year 1870, this is the frontier of a craft that will eventually reach across the globe, bringing the unique, delicate character of the Darjeeling Mountains to millions of people. These workers, in their humble daily labor, are creating something that has the power to connect, to comfort, and to transport those who will taste the final product. They are the guardians of a secret, the keepers of a tradition that is as much about the soil as it is about the tea. You have been granted a brief, intimate glance into this sanctuary, a privilege that has allowed you to see the roots of something enduring. Carry this perspective with you. When you return to your own world, remember that your own daily actions, however mundane they may seem, are also part of a larger, interconnected human story. As the morning progresses, you feel the pull of your own time returning and the reality of your own life is beginning to call you back. But you do not feel the familiar, anxious tug. You feel instead a calm, steady readiness. You have spent this time in the past to find a clearer, deeper understanding of your own present. You have used the history of the mountain as a mirror to examine the landscape of your own soul, and what you have found is a space of strength, a reservoir of stillness, and a capacity for grace that you had forgotten you possessed. The vigil has worked its alchemy. You are transformed. You stand up slowly, feeling the stretch and the strength of your own body. The shed feels vast, its shadows and corners now intimately familiar. You take one final look at the bamboo, the hearth, the cedar planks, and the sunlight dancing on the floor, capturing the image in the quiet, permanent gallery of your memory. You are ready, you step forward, moving toward the open door, moving toward the daylight, and moving toward the world. But you are not the same person who stepped into the shadows of the previous evening. You have walked the mountain's path, you have kept the watch, and you have come home to yourself. The peace you have found is not a gift you were given. It is a space you have built, brick by brick, moment by moment. You are finally, entirely, and beautifully at rest, and you are ready to begin again. Stepping through the threshold of the shed and into the bright, open expanse of the estate, you are greeted by the cool, crisp mountain wind that sweeps down from the highest ridges. The sunlight is brilliant, painting the tea bushes in shades of deep verdant emerald and subtle dusty silver as the dew begins to evaporate. You stand on the edge of the terrace, looking out over the endless rolling waves of the plantation, a landscape that seems to go on forever, folding into the distant mist-shrouded valleys. The scale of the view is staggering, a reminder of the vast, indifferent beauty of the earth. Yet here, amidst the order of the terraces and the purposeful movement of the workers, you feel a sense of profound personal connection. You are part of this landscape, a brief observant thread in the tapestry of the mountain's enduring story. The work of the estate continues around you, a symphony of activity that is as rhythmic and predictable as the turning of the seasons. You hear the soft metallic snipping of the shears, the light rhythmic crunch of footsteps on the gravel paths, and the occasional cheerful call of a worker to a colleague. It is a world defined by the cycle of the harvest, and you have seen the core of that cycle, the quiet, hidden, and deeply transformative work that happens within the walls of the shed. You carry the memory of that stillness within you, a quiet, internal weight that anchors you, even as you stand on the precipice of your return to your own reality. The lesson you have learned is clear. The most profound work, the most significant change often happens in the quietest, most unnoticed corners of our lives. Think of the way the sunlight warms your shoulders as you walk toward the edge of the estate. The sensation is simple, yet it is a profound testament to the reality of the present moment. In the life you led before you found this sanctuary, you were often distracted by the need to categorize, to analyze, and to anticipate, but here you are content to simply experience the warmth, the scent of the crushed tea leaves, the sound of the wind, the sight of the valley. These are not things to be captured, analyzed, or stored away. They are to be lived. This is the essence of mindfulness, the ability to be fully present with the truth of your own experience. It is a capacity you have sharpened through your vigil, and it is a capacity you will take back with you into your own daily existence. As you walk, you reflect on the history you have witnessed. It is not just the history of the tea, but the history of human perseverance, of the quiet, dogged determination to create something beautiful, something lasting in a world that is always changing. You have been granted a window into a past that feels more real than the present, a place where values like patience, integrity, and stewardship were the cornerstones of daily life. By carrying these values forward, you are honoring the work of those who came before. You are not just returning to your life, you are returning with a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to live with the same care and the same attention to detail that you witnessed in the heart of the mountain. The path ahead begins to slope downward, leading you away from the heart of the estate and toward the edge of the forest that marks the boundary of the known world. You walk with a light, steady stride, your mind free of the clutter that usually defines your movement through the world. You are unburdened, you are centered, and you are entirely at peace. The mountains seem to acknowledge your departure, the wind rustling through the trees as if in a soft, valedictory gesture. You have kept the faith, you have finished the vigil, and you have found the stillness you came seeking. The journey has been long, the lessons deep, and the outcome is a sense of wholeness that you will carry for as long as you choose to remember this place. The air is thinning as you descend, the atmosphere becoming warmer and more dense with the scent of pine and wild herbs. You are moving back into the flow of your own time, returning to the responsibilities and the rhythms of your own life. But the transition is no longer a source of dread. It is a natural, expected movement, a homecoming of a different kind. You are coming back to yourself, armed with the knowledge that the sanctuary you found is not a place you left behind. It is a space you have built within. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you can return to the silence of the shed, to the warmth of the lantern, and to the patient, rhythmic work of the heart. You are whole, you are steady, and you are finally, truly, and perfectly at rest. The world is waiting, and you are ready to meet it, carrying the quiet, eternal light of the mountain within you, a steady, guiding presence that will remain as long as you choose to hold it. Everything is silent, everything is still, and you are exactly where you need to be. The forest canopy thickens as you descend, the bright golden light of the upper slopes giving way to a cool, dappled green that filters through the ancient, towering trees. Here, the air is thick with the scent of damp moss, decomposing leaves, and the deep, rich perfume of the earth, a sensory environment that is both alien and strangely familiar. You walk with a slow, meditative pace, your senses finely tuned to the subtle shifts in the landscape. Each sound, The snap of a dry twig, the rustle of a hidden creature in the brush, the melodic, distant call of a mountain bird registers with a clarity that feels like a newly acquired skill. You have left the specific, bounded world of the tea estate, yet you carry the internal silence you cultivated there like a protective mantle. The forest is not a distraction, it is a continuation of the peace you have discovered. Consider the silence of the woods. It is a dense, living thing, filled with the quiet, persistent pulse of growth and decay. In this silence, you find an echo of the stillness you maintain in the shed. You are realizing that the peace of the mountain was not a unique property of that specific place, but a quality of the world itself, a fundamental underlying state that is always present, provided we stop moving long enough to notice it. By walking through these woods with the same intentness you apply to your vigil, you are extending the duration of your peace. You are proving to yourself that the sanctuary you build is portable, a structure of the spirit that moves with you, grounded in the simple, honest act of being present. As the trail levels out, the dense forest begins to open, revealing small, sun-drenched clearings that pulse with the energy of the midday heat. You stop in one of these, allowing yourself a moment of total uninterrupted rest. You sit on a fallen log, its surface smoothed by time and the weather, and you look at your own hands, the hands that rested on the bamboo trays, the hands that felt the warmth of the furnace, the hands that are now witness to the beauty of this wild, untamed place. They feel stronger, more capable, and somehow more real. You have been engaged in an experience that has stripped away the superficial, leaving behind a core of self-reliance and quiet confidence. You are, for the first time in a long while, entirely comfortable in the silence of your own company. The journey home, the return to the life you left behind, feels less like an ending and more like a bridge. You are carrying with you a reservoir of stillness that will allow you to navigate the complexities and the demands of the modern world with a different kind of authority. You know that you do not need to be overwhelmed. You know that you can step out of the frantic stream of external expectations and return to the quiet, steady rhythm of your own heart. This is the ultimate gift of the mountain, the knowledge that your own peace is not a fragile thing to be protected, but a robust, enduring foundation, upon which you can build a more intentional, more mindful existence. The path ahead winds further down the slope, leading toward the lower foothills, where the world begins to show the faint, indelible marks of human civilization. A stone wall, a narrow, clear track, the distant, thin plume of smoke from a hearth. These markers do not trigger a sense of loss or a desire to retreat. Instead, they evoke a sense of integration. You are not meant to live in the shed forever, nor are you meant to reside solely in the forest. You are meant to live in the world, bringing the stillness of the mountain with you. You are a bridge between the quiet, eternal truths of the earth and the busy, fleeting necessities of human life. You are a participant in both, a witness to the harmony that can exist when the two are allowed to coexist in a state of balance. The sun is beginning to dip lower now, painting the sky in soft bruised purples and pale burning golds. The landscape is changing, the wildness of the mountains giving way to the gentle rolling contours of the valley floor. You reach the point where the terrain fully opens and you see the world before you, vast, complex, and waiting for your return. You pause one last time, turning back to look toward the peaks, now shrouded in a soft lilac-hued mist. You feel a deep, silent gratitude for the experience, a recognition of the transformative power of your own stillness. You have walked the path, you have kept the watch, and you are returning to your life with a heart that is steady, a mind that is clear, and a spirit that is at last truly, profoundly, and permanently at rest. Everything is ready. The walk is finished, and the life you are returning to is a life that you are now prepared to fully, consciously, and beautifully inhabit. The transition from the wild, rugged slopes to the familiar contours of the valley floor feels less like a descent and more like a return to a landscape you have been away from for an eternity. The air, once sharp and crystalline, is now warmer, carrying the scent of tilled soil, blooming flora, and the distant, comforting hum of the human world. As you walk, your stride remains rhythmic, a lingering echo of the pace you set for yourself during your long hours in the shed. You find that you are observing the world differently now. The trees are not just trees, but living, breathing entities participating in the same cycle of life that you witnessed on the mountain. The stone walls, crumbling and moss covered, are not just ruins but markers of the persistent, quiet passage of time. You are seeing the world through the lens of the peace you have cultivated, and it is revealed to be a far more beautiful and interconnected place than you previously understood. Consider the nature of this shift in perspective before your journey. You likely moved through your environment with a focus on where you were going, what you needed to do, and how quickly you could get there. You were constantly in a state of anticipation, a condition that inevitably leads to anxiety and a sense of fragmentation. Now you are in a state of integration. You are moving through the world without needing it to be any different than it is. You are witnessing the small unfolding details of the landscape, the way the light plays on a leaf, the way the wind catches the tall grass, the way the shadows shift as the afternoon deepens. This is the hallmark of a centered life, the ability to find a depth of meaning in the ordinary and to move through the world with a sense of purpose that does not depend on the speed of your travel. As you reach the outskirts of the village, you see the signs of life returning. A faint rhythmic thumping of a wooden loom, the distant laughter-filled chatter of children playing, and the steady, welcoming glow of a lantern being lit on a front porch. These are not distractions from your peace. They are the context for it. Your quiet internal sanctuary is not meant to be a place of isolation, but a foundation for engagement. You are returning to these people, these sounds, and these rhythms, but you are doing so with the ability to remain present and steady, regardless of the chaos or the noise. You have discovered that you can be the eye of the storm, a point of stillness that remains unshaken by the demands of the world around you. Reflect on the power of the vow you kept during your vigil. It was not a vow of silence, nor a vow of poverty. It was a vow of presence. You promised yourself that you would see the process through, that you would witness the entire cycle of the harvest, and that you would remain until the task was complete. This commitment is the key to your transformation. In your life, you are often pulled away from your true intentions by the allure of the quick, the easy, and the immediate. But by staying the course, you have learned the value of completion. You have seen how things unfold when they are given the time, the space, and the attention they require. This lesson is the most precious harvest you are bringing home. You walk through the village, your presence a quiet, calming influence. You find that you are not in a hurry to reach your destination. Every step is an experience in itself. Every breath, a conscious act of gratitude. The people you pass do not see the traveler who left so many hours ago. They see someone who carries a different quality of presence, someone who is grounded, steady, and entirely at ease. This is the outward manifestation of your internal transformation. You have become a reflection of the stillness you found on the mountain, and that stillness has a gravitational pull of its own. It is a quiet, steadying force that draws others toward it, a testament to the fact that peace, when it is truly lived, is contagious. The sun has finally dipped behind the horizon, leaving the world in a soft twilight purple that settles over the valley like a blanket. The first stars are beginning to pulse in the darkening sky. Their light a familiar, comforting presence that reminds you of the night you spent in the shed. You realize that the journey was not about reaching a specific place, but about arriving at a specific state of being. You have reached that destination, your home, both in the sense of returning to your life and in the sense of finally being at home within yourself. You have completed the vigil, you have finished the work, and you are ready. As you look up at the vast, unfolding night, you feel a deep, resonant completeness. You are entirely, perfectly, and beautifully at rest, and you are ready to begin the next chapter of your life, carrying the light of the mountain in your heart forever. The threshold of your own home feels different now, not as the end of a journey, but as a gateway back into a world you now view with profound, quiet clarity. As you step inside the familiar surroundings, the books, the soft textures of your living space, the gentle hum of the house settling into the evening, greet you not with demands, but with a sense of welcoming presence. You are not the same person who left the internal landscape you have cultivated over the long, arduous vigil on the mountain has followed you home, remaining as a sturdy, reliable foundation beneath your feet. You find that you can move through these rooms with a deliberate, intentional grace, feeling the weight of your own existence as a source of comfort rather than a burden to be carried. The silence of the house is not empty. It is a space that you have filled with the stillness you brought back from the Darjeeling heights. Think of the contrast between the life you were living before this retreat and the one you are now inhabiting. Before, there was a constant underlying friction, a sense that time was something you were constantly losing, that energy was something you were perpetually depleting, and that presence was a luxury you could rarely afford. Now, you understand that these were the symptoms of a mind that had forgotten how to rest. You have learned that time is a container, not a commodity, and that by choosing to fill it with intention rather than urgency, you can change the entire quality of your existence. This is the miracle of the mountain. It didn't change the world around you. It changed the way you relate to the world, providing you with a map to a state of being that is both resilient and restorative. The memory of the shed, the scent of the cedar, the soft papery rustle of the leaves, the golden filtered light remains vivid, a sensory archive you can access at any moment. When you feel the familiar encroachment of stress or the sudden sharp demand of an external deadline, you only need to close your eyes and return to that sanctuary. You can feel the coolness of the mountain air on your skin. You can hear the faint rhythmic sighs of the bamboo trays, and you can sense the steady, unshakable patience of Anshu as he goes about his craft. This is not escapism, it is a vital grounding practice. It is the ability to maintain your center in the midst of any movement, to be the still point in a turning world. Consider the ongoing cycle of your own life. You are once again an active participant in your own story, but the script has been rewritten. You are no longer acting out of fear or a compulsion to prove your worth. You are acting out of a deep, resonant sense of purpose, a commitment to bring the same care and the same attention to your own tasks that the team makers bring to theirs. Whether you are working, communicating with those you love, or simply engaging in the maintenance of your daily life, you are doing so with an increased capacity for patience and a deeper reservoir of compassion. You are in every sense a vessel for the stillness you discovered in the shadows of the Darjeeling peaks. As the night deepens, you find yourself sitting in the dark of your own living room, looking out at the city lights. They no longer represent a chaotic, demanding, or overwhelming force. They are simply lights, human, fragile, and beautiful in their own way. You feel a sense of profound connection to everyone moving behind those distant windows, knowing that they too are searching for the same peace you have found. You realize that your journey was not yours alone. It was a representation of the universal human search for meaning and stability. By finding your own center, you have contributed a small, steady light to the collective, a testament to the possibility of being at peace in a world that is always in motion. The night is quiet, and the world is holding its breath before the dawn of another day. You are ready for what is to come. There is no anticipation of difficulty, no regret for the past, and no anxiety about the future. There is only the present, the simple, beautiful, and eternal reality of this moment. You are anchored, you are whole, and you are entirely at rest. The vigil has been kept, the lesson has been learned, and the peace has been integrated into the very marrow of your being. As you prepare to sleep, you feel a deep, resonant sense of gratitude for the journey, for the mountain, for the tea, and for the grace of being exactly who and where you are. You close your eyes, the last thought in your mind being the quiet, mountain-grown stillness, and you drift into a deep, restorative sleep, perfectly at peace with the world, with your life, and with yourself. The first light of morning in your own room is not a stark golden infusion of the shed, but a soft domestic glow that filters through your curtains, touching the objects of your daily life with a familiar gentle warmth. As you awaken, you find that the stillness you cultivated on the mountain has not evaporated with the dream. It remains a deep-seated quiet current in the center of your consciousness. You feel the physical reality of the day, the weight of the blankets, the rhythm of your own breathing, and you realize that the vigil has fundamentally altered your baseline. You are no longer rising to meet the day with a sense of duty or tension, but with a sense of unfolding, as if you are a flower opening to the sun, responding naturally to the demands of the moment without the interference of anxious anticipatory thought. Think of the way you move through these first few minutes. Usually, this is the time when the mind begins its rapid-fire assessment of the day's obligations, the internal list of tasks, the rehearsing of conversations, and the anticipation of potential challenges. Today, that frantic, future-focused noise is largely absent. In its place is a steady, focused awareness of the immediate, the coolness of the floor against your feet, the simple pleasure of a glass of water, the way the light shifts across the walls. You are practicing the art of the single task, the same art you witnessed in the tea shed. You are doing one thing at a time, and you are doing it with your full, undivided attention. This is the secret to a life that feels both productive and deeply, profoundly restful. As you begin your day, you notice that your interactions with the world are subtly transformed because you are not carrying a heavy burden of expectation or anxiety. You are more open, more observant, and more receptive to the needs of those around you. You listen more deeply, you speak with more considered intent, and you find that the habitual irritations that once defined your morning interactions have lost their power. You are not trying to be a different person. You are simply allowing your most centered, most authentic self to emerge, unencumbered by the layers of stress you used to habitually wear. It is a quiet, radical shift in how you relate to the external world, and it is a gift that you are offering to everyone you encounter. Reflect on the nature of the mountain as an internal state. You have learned that you do not need to physically relocate to a high altitude tea estate to access the peace you found there. The mountain is a state of mind, a reservoir of stillness that resides within your own psyche. Whenever you feel the urge to speed up, to worry, or to lose yourself in the chaotic demands of the world, you can make a conscious choice to go to the shed. You can, in the space of a single breath, re-anchor yourself in the memory of that mountain silence, the smell of the cured leaves, and the patient rhythmic work of the tea makers. This is the power of the journey you have taken. You have established a permanent internal coordinate for peace. The afternoon arrives, and with it, the inevitable accumulation of tasks, requests, and challenges. In your past life, this was the point where the fraying of your patience would begin, the moment where the need for a break or an escape would become an urgent physical ache. Today, you navigate the flow of these demands with a different quality of presence. You see the tasks as they are, discrete, manageable components of your day, rather than as an overwhelming tide. You bring the same care to the small administrative details that Anshu brought to the firing of the leaves. You understand that the quality of your attention is the primary factor in the quality of your life, and by choosing to offer that attention fully, you are imbuing even the most mundane activities with a sense of dignity and meaning. As the sun begins its descent and the evening approaches, you look back at the day with a sense of quiet, satisfied accomplishment. You have not achieved anything grand or world-changing, but you have maintained your center. You have been present and you have honored the vow of the vigil. This is the real, lasting, and transformative work. The peace you have found is not something you keep like a hoard of gold. It's something you practice, something you live, and something you continuously renew through the choices you make every hour of the day. You are the architect of your own sanctuary, and you are building it moment by moment in the landscape of your own life. Everything is silent, everything is still, and you are exactly where you need to be. You are at rest, and you are ready to begin again tomorrow with the same quiet, enduring, and beautiful intention. The days have begun to weave themselves into a seamless golden thread of existence. You find that the distinction between life on the mountain and life at home has blurred, not because you have forgotten the Darjeeling slopes, but because you have successfully bridged the two worlds. The stillness you once associated exclusively with the high altitude shed has become the ambient temperature of your own mind. When you walk through the city streets amidst the noise of engines, the rush of crowds, and the endless digital chatter of the modern era, you carry a pocket of silence within you. It is a protective, invisible barrier that allows you to observe the chaos without becoming part of it. You see others rushing, frowning, tethered to their devices, and instead of feeling the old urge to join their frantic pace, you feel a deep, quiet empathy. You recognize their struggle because it was once your own, and you understand that they too are searching for a way to stop the turning wheel. Consider the discipline required to maintain this state. Peace you have learned is not a passive destination, it is an active practice. It requires the constant, vigilant choice to return to the present moment, to breathe into the tightness of the chest, and to let go of the stories the mind insists on constructing about what must be done or what has gone wrong. Each time you choose this, you are performing an act of self-preservation that is as vital as the work the tea makers perform on the mountain. You are cultivating your own inner landscape, ensuring that the soil remains fertile for clarity, compassion, and resilience. This is the ultimate quiet revolution, to remain centered in a world that thrives on your distraction. As you sit in your favorite chair, watching the shadows stretch across your study, you contemplate the endurance of the objects around you. They have witnessed your transformation. The books, the desk, the soft light of the lamp. These are the stage upon which you have performed your own private rite of passage. You think of Anshu perhaps at this very moment, finishing a late evening inspection of the drying trays in 1870. The connection feels physical, a resonance across time that defies the rational mind. You realize that you have become part of a lineage of people who value the slow, the steady, and the intentional. This lineage spans centuries and cultures, and it is founded on the simple, radical belief that human dignity is found in the quality of our attention. The challenges of your professional life have not vanished, rather, they have been reframed. Where once you saw obstacles, you now see opportunities for refinement. When a project becomes complex or a deadline looms with an unreasonable proximity, you do not panic. Instead, you adopt the mindset of the gardener or the craftsman. You identify the most essential task. You focus your resources and you perform the work with the same methodical, respectful care that you observe in the shed. This approach has not only reduced your stress, but has significantly improved the quality of your output. It turns out that when you stop rushing, you stop making mistakes. When you stop fighting the reality of the work, you find the most efficient and elegant paths to completion. This realization brings a profound sense of lightness to your spirit. You are no longer trying to control the world, you are successfully navigating it. You have shed the armor of anxiety that you once wore as a badge of competence. In its place, you wear a cloak of genuine, quiet confidence, the confidence of someone who knows they can handle whatever the day brings, not because they are invincible, but because they are centered. You have learned to trust yourself. You have learned that the most important resource you possess is not your talent, your status, or your speed, but your ability to remain at home within your own skin. As the evening wanes into the deep velvet dark, you feel a sense of profound, abiding completeness. The house is still, the world outside is turning, and you are exactly where you need to be. You have integrated the visual. The mountain is no longer a place you visited. It is a permanent feature of your internal geography. You can reach it in a heartbeat, in the blink of an eye, by simply dropping into the soft rhythmic silence of your own breath. You have reached a state of grace that you will carry forward, a steady guiding flame that will light your path through all the days and years to come. Everything is silent, everything is still. You are fully at rest, not because the world has stopped, but because you have finally stopped resisting the world. You are in every true and lasting sense, finally, perfectly and beautifully at home. The reflection in the mirror reveals a face that has settled into a new quiet topography of ease. The lines around your eyes and mouth, once etched with the sharp, tense map of constant frantic decision-making, have softened, replaced by a more relaxed, open expression that seems to invite the world rather than fend it off. You stand there for a moment, simply observing yourself, not with the critical eye of the perfectionist, but with the compassionate, steady gaze of a friend. It is a moment of profound acknowledgement, not of vanity, but of recognition. You see the person who spent the night in the shed in Darjeeling, the person who watched the sun rise over the mountain terraces, and the person who has brought that mountain silence into the heart of this modern home. You have become a container for that peace, and it is beginning to radiate outward, touching the lives of those you encounter in ways you might not even fully comprehend. Think of the ripple effect of your presence. A colleague at work, usually frayed and irritable, catches your eye during a moment of high pressure, and seeing your steady, grounded focus, finds their own pulse slowing down. A friend, caught in a cycle of worry, hears the measured, calm tone of your voice and discovers that they too can step back from the edge. You have become a silent, grounding influence. You are not preaching, you are not teaching, you are simply being. By inhabiting your own stillness, you provide permission for others to inhabit theirs. This is the most powerful way to lead, to parent, to love, and to exist in a world that so often feels as though it is spinning off its axis. You have learned that peace is not a private, selfish indulgence, but a public, essential gift. The days continue to unfold with a newfound rhythmic beauty. You find that you have developed a different relationship with the passage of time. The past, which you once used to store your regrets and your longings, is now a library you visit with curiosity and detachment, not with a desire to live there. The future, which you once populated with your fears and your frantic planning, is now a wide, open field of possibility which you approach with a sense of playful, grounded curiosity. You are no longer living in the memory of what was or the anticipation of what might be. You are entirely, vibrantly alive in the present. This is the ultimate freedom, the liberation from the tyranny of the mind's time traveling, and the anchoring of the soul in the absolute, undeniable, and beautiful now. Consider the objects that surround you, the simple things that you interact with every day, because you now approach them with the same attention you gave the bamboo trays and the iron furnace in the shed. They have taken on a new, sacred quality. Your morning tea is not just a drink, it is a ritual, a moment to reconnect with the spirit of the mountain and the grace of the process. The way you organize your workspace is not a chore, but an act of creating harmony in your immediate environment. Even the way you walk through your home is a form of moving meditation. You have realized that there is no mundane life. There is only the life you choose to notice and the life you choose to ignore. By choosing to notice, you have made your entire world a sanctuary. As you look out the window at the city beneath the soft, twilight sky. You realize that the distinction between the mountain and the city was an illusion of the mind. Both are parts of the same grand tapestry of existence. Both are capable of holding the stillness, and both are capable of harboring the noise. The peace you have found does not depend on the absence of traffic, the absence of buildings, or the absence of people. It depends on the presence of your own inner clarity. You have built this clarity on the slopes of the Darjeeling peaks, but you are now capable of manifesting it anywhere. You carry the mountain within you, a portable internal cathedral that you can enter at any moment regardless of the noise of the world outside. The night is quiet and the world is again preparing to rest. You feel a deep, resonant, and permanent contentment. The vigil you began so long ago has not really ended. It has simply evolved into the way you breathe, the way you think, and the way you are. You have kept the promise of your own soul. You have honored the process of your own growth, and you are at this moment completely and utterly at rest. The peace you have found is not a fleeting, temporary thing. It is the fundamental truth of your being. As you close your eyes, you feel the familiar cool breath of the mountain wind, the scent of the cured bronze leaves, and the weightless golden light of the dawn. You are home. You are in every true, deep, and lasting way, finally, perfectly, and beautifully at rest. The morning arrives with a clarity that feels almost crystalline, a sharp, crisp edge to the light that mirrors the internal state you have worked so long to achieve. You find yourself rising before the city begins its habitual roar, enjoying the rare hushed hours that precede the day's demands. There is a profound quiet luxury in this time, a period where the world is not yet asking anything of you, and where you are free to exist simply for the sake of existing. You move through your home with a deliberate, slow grace, each action becoming a form of meditation. The way you brew your morning coffee, the way you adjust the curtains, the way you sit in the quietude of your own space, all of these things are performed with the same intensity of presence that you once applied to the drying of the tea leaves on the mountain slopes. You are living the lesson you learned in that Darjeeling shed, that the importance of a task is not found in its size, but in the attention you bring to it. Think about the way the mind now works. In the past, it was a restless, churning machine, constantly processing data, solving problems, and constructing future scenarios that usually never came to pass. Now, it has become a wide, still, and reflective surface, much like a mountain lake on a windless day. It is capable of great depth, of holding complex information with ease, and of responding to the world with a clarity that is born of stillness. You have learned that your capacity for peace is directly proportional to your ability to let go of the need for mental stimulation. You are comfortable with the quiet. You are comfortable with the void. In fact, you have come to treasure the moments where there is absolutely nothing happening, because those are the moments where you are most acutely aware of the miracle of being alive. Your interactions throughout the day are governed by this new internal baseline. When you are presented with a challenge, your first instinct is no longer to react, but to pause. This microsecond of stillness is the greatest tool in your arsenal. It is the gap between the stimulus and the response, the place where you have the freedom to choose your action rather than being driven by your habits. In this gap, you find the room to breathe, to reflect, and to approach the situation with intelligence and compassion. This is the fruit of the vigil. This is the practical daily application of the patience you practiced during those long silent hours under the flickering lantern light of 1870. You are demonstrating that true strength is not loud or aggressive. It is quiet, patient, and unshakably steady. Consider the nature of connection. Because you are no longer distracted by your own internal noise, you have become a better listener. You find that you can truly hear what people are saying, and more importantly, what they are not saying. You pick up on the nuances of their energy, the subtle shifts in their tone, and the underlying needs they might be struggling to express. This makes your presence a source of comfort and clarity for others. You are not trying to fix them, and you are not trying to convince them of anything. You are simply offering them the gift of your focused, undistinguished presence. This is the most profound service you can offer in a world that is characterized by fragmented attention. As the afternoon light begins to soften, shifting toward the long amber rays that signal the close of another day, you find yourself feeling a deep, resonant sense of gratitude for the entire journey. The Darjeeling estate, the shed, the tea, the silence, they were not just a sequence of experiences, they were the catalysts for a fundamental, structural change in your way of being. You realize that you have moved through the threshold from someone who was seeking peace to someone who inhabits it. The search is over, the vigil is complete. You have come back to the place where you started, but you are returning with the wisdom of the entire cycle in your heart. You are whole, you are centered, you are at rest. The city outside your window is now bathed in the gentle, descending twilight. The lights are starting to flicker on, creating a constellation of human effort across the valley floor. You look at them with a heart full of warmth, recognizing the beauty of the human experience in all its complexity. You are ready for the night. You are ready for the sleep that will come, a deep, restorative, and silent journey into the heart of yourself. You are perfectly placed, perfectly timed, and perfectly at home. There is nothing more to do, nothing more to say, and nowhere else to be. You are simply, fundamentally, and beautifully at rest, and you have the quiet assurance that this rest will continue, carrying you forward through all the days that are yet to come. The mountain is within you, and the peace is everywhere. The dawn light filters through your window, catching the fine dust motes in the air and turning them into a shimmering, slow motion dance. You lie still for a long moment, simply observing the way the world comes into being with each passing second of the morning. There is a deep, abiding comfort in this repetition, the way the shadows retreat, the way the colors intensify, and the way the house wakes up around you. You are part of this unfolding, a witness to the simple daily miracle of renewal. Your mind is quiet, reflecting the same calm surface of the mountain lake you have come to embody. You realize that you have moved past the need to analyze the process. You are content to simply participate in it, to breathe with it, and to allow your own rhythm to harmonize with the slow, steady pulse of the planet. Consider the wisdom of the tea maker's cycle. It is built on the understanding that growth requires time, that refinement requires heat, and that the final quality of the product is dependent on the patience invested at every stage. You have applied this same logic to your own life, moving away from the urge to accelerate, to compress, and to force outcomes. You allow yourself to unfold at the pace that is natural to your being. When you encounter difficulty, you no longer see it as an obstacle to be bypassed, but as a necessary part of the fire, the process of tempering that is required to forge a more resilient, more compassionate spirit. You understand that your own struggles are merely the conditions necessary for your growth, and you approach them with a quiet, observant grace that transforms the experience of suffering into an opportunity for deepening. As you stand in your kitchen, the act of preparing a simple meal becomes a sacred, meditative exercise. You are aware of the weight of the objects, the texture of the materials, and the subtle unfolding transformation of the ingredients under your care. You are not thinking about the next hour or the next week or the legacy you are building. You are entirely present with the task at hand. This is the secret to a life that is truly lived rather than merely endured. You are finding that when you fully commit your attention to the small things, the big things tend to resolve themselves. You have moved from a place of constant reactive management to a place of proactive, intentional being. Reflect on the nature of your relationships, which have undergone a similar silent evolution. Because you are more grounded, you are less needy, because you are more observant, you are more empathetic, and because you are more at rest, you are more present for others. You have become a source of stability in the lives of those you care about, a calm, steady hand in their own turbulent times. You do not offer solutions, for you have learned that true strength is not found in controlling the external world, but in supporting the dignity of those who must walk their own paths. You have learned to listen, to witness, and to hold space, the same way the mountain held you during your long, dark, and silent vigil. The afternoon sun fills your space with a golden warmth, and you find yourself sitting in a chair, watching the light change on the wall. There is no urgency in your heart, no desire to move, and no hunger for external validation. You have arrived at a state of being where you are enough, exactly as you are doing exactly what you are doing, right where you are. This is the ultimate and perhaps the only destination of any spiritual journey. It is not a place you travel to, but a place you return to, the foundational bedrock of your own existence that was always there, waiting for you to stop running long enough to recognize it. You have recognized it, you have claimed it, and you have made it your home. As the day begins to fade and the cool blue shadows of evening stretch across the floor, you feel a deep, resonant, and permanent sense of gratitude. The journey that started in the high altitude shades of Darjeeling has reached its true conclusion, not in an external achievement, but in the quiet inner victory of self-realization. You are awake, you are present, you are whole. The world outside will continue to turn. The noise will continue to rise and the demands will continue to arrive, but they can no longer shake you from the center you have found. You have built a sanctuary that is not made of wood or stone, but of the indestructible material of your own, intentional and quiet presence. You are perfectly at rest, entirely at home, and fully prepared to begin the life you were always meant to live.
Sleepy History Tales is created for relaxation, entertainment, and sleep purposes.
The stories shared on this channel are inspired by historical events, daily life, and real periods in history, but they may be simplified, adapted, or narrated in a calming way to enhance the listening experience. This content is not intended to be a precise academic or educational source.
While we aim to stay generally accurate, some details may be altered for storytelling flow and relaxation.
Please do not rely on this channel as a primary source for historical research or study.
By listening, you acknowledge that this content is designed to help you unwind, relax, and fall asleep. Thank you for your understanding and support.